reason.
There are libraries all over the world filled with the greatest works of literature, but for everything those stories have taught us about ourselves and each other, they all share a common fatal flaw, that is choice, or rather a lack thereof, forcing the reader down an inescapable predetermined path. But there is one series of books that solve this problem so effectively that the entire genre of books now bears its name. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Choose Your Own Adventure.
Quite funky music, I'll tell you that. It's quite fun. I didn't expect that funky music from Galaxy Media here. That's my initial reaction. Let me please... Where's Firefox for me on my system? Thank you. I'm in the way of what it says, so I want to be moving me. It's quite a long intro. I'm just going to pause that there. I'll mute it while they talk about their sponsor. Making funny noises while I try and find my camera here. So I'm under this huge list of things I've got on the screen. Right, there we go. And edit, transform. So, interestingly, I mean, who am I to say this after 5 hours of content? But when you, like, why do we need this long intro music and sequence? Like, people think they're making their own TV show on YouTube. So, like, he's done his speaking, and then we've got this. But a YouTube video. So do you know what I would do is I'd just skip this.
Month of KiwiCo subscription.
Do you know what I mean? I'm skipping that. I don't mind having to skip the advert, but
that were designed with the potential for multiple story paths. They elevated the reader from witness to accomplice, from passive to aggressive.
Actually, I just realised Asmongold doesn't skip those sort of things. He lets everything play, like, respectfully. So maybe I should do that. Anyhow, we're talking about Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Your Own Adventure is the brand name of a series of 184 books originally published by Bantam Books between 1979 and 1998 that were designed with the potential for multiple story paths. They elevated the...
Is it just me, or is he talking quickly? I haven't got him on fast speed. For me, he's talking quickly.
From witness to accomplice, from passive...
I'm not trying to react to him. I want to react to the content about the books, but I'm just finding this, like, quite difficult. And I've just noticed the amount of pumpkins in the background. What's going on with that? Why are there so many pumpkins in the background? Maybe they made this at Halloween? It's not a Halloween-themed video, though, is it? Choose Your Own Adventure book. So it seems strange that in the annals of posterity that... this was released a year ago, so I don't know if it was released in October, but they've gone for pumpkins as the theme here, as the background for a video that I'm watching some years later, not at Halloween. That's how, on YouTube, honestly, as well, that on YouTube you can date your content so accidentally by doing simple things like that. They've got the gold play button, I don't, so I'm wrong. They've done a good thing, but for me that's a mistake, because if you're just going to be leaving the video up on YouTube, if you're doing a live stream and it's about Halloween and it's a Halloween live stream, that makes sense. But if it's about Choose Your Own Adventure books, the background should be pertaining to the video.
To aggressive.
Or not, or just be a background. But pumpkins has really thrown me there. Why so many pumpkins? Even if it is Halloween, why so many?
They elevated the reader from...
This guy, more... No, they've got the play button, I don't, so I'll shut up.
Witness to accomplice, from passive to aggressive. Choose Your Own Adventure books were designed for younger readers ages 7 to 14. They covered genres from science fiction to fantasy to mystery and plenty of young adult horror. Adventures with time travel, space aliens, dragons, mystical knights, detectives, and regular suburban kids.
So when I was a kid, this image here that you're looking at here, that exact typeface, was a little bit... before my time. That was a 70s, you know, books. We're talking the books. That was more of a 70s vibe. I'm pretty sure. Was it 70s or late 80s? Maybe they'll tell us. But I went to a jumble sale or two. In the UK, we called it a jumble sale, which for the Americans is where, like a yard sale, but you don't do it from your yard. You all turn up in the same place. And like you hand over your rubbish to somebody else maybe, and they sell it, and maybe it's for charity, or I don't know. We used to have them called jumble sales. There would be like a series of tables, and you'd sort of tip out your wares. It's a jumble, it's a mess, and people go around and just have a look and a pick. I found loads of books from second-hand jumble sales, yard sales, so to speak, and it's not a yard sale where the person that's selling them is stood in front of the books and saying, oh, would you like to buy my books? It was like a pile of other people's shit all jumbled together, and I found these books and I picked them all out, and, oh, Mum, can I have the books? My mum would always, very great, I tell you what, my mum was always good for this. Generally, you know, oh, can I have another ice cream? Can I have, like, the Ninja Turtles, whatever, probably not. No, just shut up, like, you know. But if it's no, she wouldn't tell me just shut up. But like, if it was books, she'd actually find the, you know, extra pocket money there for me to buy books. I always had a regular supply of books whenever I requested them. And same with this, the jumble sale. I remember it was like a bundle of them for 50p. So I got the 50p I was given it, and I had a bundle. I've probably still got them in the other room. I tried to read one for an ASMR experience. Back when we had annotations on YouTube, I was going to read the whole book and then edit it with the annotations. But two problems. One, reading the whole book was I didn't realise it was going to take so long. And it was not like reading a story. It was like random scenes all out of order because of the way the book works. But I had these books with that exact typeface. Choose Your Own Adventure. I had those books. I didn't have all of them. I had a whole bundle of them. As they say, there's like 40 different themes. I think a couple of mine were about sci-fi. But yeah, I had books like this and I loved them. Absolutely thought they were brilliant.
Searching for escape from the humdrum daily existence of life in the 1980s. The dark times
The 80s.
Before the internet, before Minecraft, before TikTok. Sometimes called interactive fiction, Choose Your Own Adventure set themselves apart from regular books by giving you an active role in determining the outcome of the narrative. After a bit of exposition, you're presented with multiple story branches, challenging you to either focus on the details as they develop to make an informed choice, or, more often than not, just pick one or the other and hope for the best.
So what would happen actually is that the real introduction to this is you've got a normal book, and the first like page or two is a story, an outline of a, you know, set you up, and then you're given each individual page has the details of the story scene that you're in, and usually they try and fit it on one page. It's got a number at the top, obviously page numbers, but like a big bold number, and at the bottom your choices. Do you want to go into this place? Like at the very start you've given a scene setter, and then do you want to go into this place or into this other place? You know, you're on rails, but two separate rails. You've got a choice, where are you going? And then it becomes choices like do you do X, Y, Z or not? There's maybe sometimes three choices. When you make that choice, as you see here, turn to page 6, turn to page 5. So you're holding this book, right? And they're asking you, are you going to explore the ledge or cut loose from the moray and dive with the seeker? As we see here, I don't know which one's going to kill me. Like sometimes the choice will kill you. You'll turn to page 5 and it will say, sorry, as you move off the ledge, as you cut loose from the moray and dive with the seeker, you lose your footing and instead of diving, fall quite badly and bang your head. You are dead. Like, honestly, there'd be pages like that in the book. So once you discovered that, you'd start thinking to yourself, a bit like quick save. You've got your finger in the page that you were on, because halfway through the book now, once you've done a few of these choices, you're not on page 5 or 6, you're on page 388, or sometimes it will send, and so the book wasn't sequential, it sent you all over the book. And like you'd be on page 408 or something, and it'd be like go back to page 506, or sorry, go forward to page 506 or back to page 302. And so what you do is you'd hold you'd look at 302 and you'd see if you were dead and see what the choices were there, and then you'd look at the other one, see if you were dead and see what the choices were there. Honestly, we didn't have quick saves. We had hold your finger in the book and check you were not going to die if you take the wrong choice. Some of them would be fairly obvious and some of them would be more cryptic, and it wasn't that straightforward as this guy's making out in a lot of them. A lot of them had other systems. They had, I mean, it's a 20-minute video, so we're going to let it play a bit, and I'm going to do some talking intermittently. But I think some of them had like die roll options, attack options, like more systems involved, a little bit more Dungeons and Dragons-y, a little few systems that you had to, again, you're self-monitoring. So it was like roll a dice. If you score a 6, a 5, you go through the door. If you score a 4 or below, you die. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, I just scored a 6. Yeah, honestly, I rolled that dice. I rolled that dice so hard, mate. Yeah, honestly, I scored a 6. Come on. Like, I don't know many people I don't discuss this with many people, so maybe everyone else played this differently to me, but I don't know many people who rolled a 4 and said, all right, that's it then, I'll put the book down. I'm dead. Have to start from page 1 again. Like, you just say, like, fuck that. No dice for me, thanks. I'll just pretend I've got a dice and I win every roll. Like, why would I not? I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be beat down by the book repeatedly.
Every book features the reader as a central character in the story, each story written from the second-person perspective, which means you are spoken to directly by the narrator as opposed to doing the speaking yourself about yourself. There is no I in Choose Your Own Adventure.
Although what used to happen sometimes is it would, like, you know, set out a story, you know, you're on a fiction all the way, so like you've arrived at the your destination in your spaceship and your mind is blank because he did talk to you like that.
You sure about that?
Stories were
This one says, one day a group of other people visit. You have never seen them before, but your friends welcome them warmly, holding a great feast in their honour. After everyone is through eating, the conversation intensifies. You can tell the cave people are talking about a serious problem. Then one by one they drift off to sleep. You walk outside to see if you can learn anything. The ground is covered with deep snow. A bitter cold wind blows in whirling clouds. Next morning they pack up their belongings and urge you to also do so. So, there's a bit of stuff goes on. It's not just like immediate step-by-step every decision. One decision can lead you down a path, and then they can talk it all through with you, Yeah.
generally gender and race neutral. However, the illustrations frequently depicted a young boy, which was the assumed target demographic.
I never had books where I was a young boy. Most of mine, I was either some space commander or some barbarian time-traveling warlord or some shit. Something impossibly fantastic rather than a young boy being abducted by strange characters.
As many as 44 different possible story endings, some good, some bad. Others only had a handful. There was no...
Right, you can say that they had 44 endings, but if 43 of them are you fall down the mine shaft and bang your head and are dead, then some of them are a bit of a cop-out, let's be fair.
Formula beyond what the writer decided to do with a particular story and their desire to write different endings for that.
Like, it was less about... there were a few different, it says here, choose from 32 possible endings. There were a few, maybe you make the galaxy happy or sad, or, there was a bit of morality, or, like in games where you have that different endings based on how you've gone through the game. There was a bit of that, but really I feel that less of that and more, 30 of those endings are you dead, and 2 endings are the good ending and the bad ending. It was more like that. Let's be real.
You are prompted to turn the pages forward or backward. The one constant was that each book would provide new choices and new adventures. In 1969, Edward Packard was a lawyer in New York City. Each night as he tucked his daughters into bed, he would tell them a story. Packard's stories were special because he had a recurring character named Pete. Pete lived on an island where he experienced all kinds of adventures, wherever Packard's imagination could take him. One particular night, Packard was at a loss for a new Pete story. In a moment of either desperation or inspiration, he solicited ideas from the audience, namely his 2 daughters. They independently...
In a way, that's quite cute and nice, isn't it? But in another way, so when I was a kid, my granddad used to read me bedtime stories before I learned to read fully extensively on my own, and I remember him sitting by my bed reading. We had Enid Blyton books that we would read, The Folk of the Faraway Tree and such, and he read me some Secret 7 and Famous 5, but The Folk of the Faraway Tree became my favourite. So I'd get my granddad to read to me at night sometimes, and then I remember being a kid and literally learning to read when I must have been learning to read when I was saying to myself, look, because granddad wasn't always round, so sometimes I wouldn't get granddad to read me a bedtime story, so I was looking at the books and reading them myself, and I remember what used to happen was sometimes I would read to granddad, he'd pretend to fall asleep in the chair. I learned to read with my granddad. It was a wonderful thing, and I'm really grateful and lucky to have had that experience. What I was saying was, learning to read for me was about being able to pick up the book, and I was so interested to find out what the next thing was going to happen. I like these stories that when the book was put down and I was put to sleep, I was then picking it up and trying to read it, and maybe I wasn't capable of complete cognition of all the, but I taught myself to read, or I was being taught to read, and it became me reading the book eventually, didn't it? It eventually became me reading the book. So that was what was supposed to happen, and I worry a little where this guy's telling his stories, and then he's like, look, granddad's going to read you to put you to bed tonight, but I haven't bothered to get a book, and can you tell me what I'm going to say? I don't fucking know. What is Pete doing tonight? I don't fucking know. What do you want him to do? Can Pete be on the moon? Yeah, Pete's on the moon. So, and what next? Can Pete be feels like a little bit. There's a little bit. The thing I think is a little bit sad in that is that there's a bit of a cuteness to it. There's some lovely aspect to it. You create the story and we'll do it together. But in another way, it just sounds like he can't be fucked to even get a book and read it. He didn't get all that wonderful narrative. The books that my granddad were reading me weren't that sophisticated, but Enid Blyton did have a narrative structure, characterization, themes. You know, like not just what's Pete doing tonight then? You tell me. I can't be fucked to even open a book, you brats. Get to bed. Yeah, Pete's on the fucking moon. Pete's in prison now, so shut up and eat your gruel. Like, I don't know. It just seems a little bit sad that they didn't have their own, like, not even books to be read. No bedtime stories for you. You tell me the stories, you fuckers. It was nice when I read to my granddad because it was like me showing this development and involvement in the process. But if my granddad had said, I'm not reading you Enid Blyton tonight, why don't you tell me a story? I'd have been like, oh, what? the whole premise has been flipped. I don't want to be telling us stories. I'm supposed to be going to Nunites.
Came up with different directions for the story to go. After coming up with endings for each of their ideas, it occurred to him that there was something else happening here. After listening to him tell the stories for so long, his daughters having a chance to play a role in their creation brought an excitement and passion that Packard had not seen before. Perhaps they could be writers someday, but perhaps he could be a writer right now. Lawyering was fine, but admittedly, he was just going through the motions.
That's a long way around telling us that he started writing the books, isn't it?
He decided to write
it was a joke, going through the motions, like a motion. Yeah.
Story inspired by the experience with his
It was supposed to be a joke.
kids. The result was The Adventures of You on Sugarcane Island. In 1970, he attempted to sell the book to publishers, but after 9 rejections, he went back to being a big city lawyer.
This is really weird as well, because I thought that, you know, the whole concept of these choose your own adventure books for me was an automatic lead into Dungeons and Dragons. These ideas had now been formed when I got into it. When did Dungeons and Dragons was before these books, surely then. If we're saying the 80s, I need to know now. Like, this video is not giving me the information I want. I want to know, choose your own adventure, and it will come up with the wiki and it will have the publication of the first book, history. Yeah, this guy's just got, oh my god, I hate it when they do this. According to Packard, the core idea for the series emerged from bedtime stories he told to his daughters, revolving around a character named Pete and his adventures. I had a character named Pete, and I usually had him encountering all these different adventurers on an isolated island, but that night I was running out of things for Pete to do, so I just asked what they would do. His daughters came up with different plans for the story, and Packard thought up an ending to each of the paths. What really struck me was the natural enthusiasm they had for the idea, and I thought, could I write this down? So this video that I'm watching is a regurgitation of the Wikipedia. Well done. Like, it's kind of lazy in a way, isn't it? I'm being negative about their video now, but it is lazy what this Secret Galaxy, because people like me are lazy. I'd rather hear them talking than the Wikipedia, I guess. But now I'm looking for answers they haven't given me, so I would write the video differently. Maybe I'd have said, you know, the specific dates. Look, they said the 80s. It was 70s. They got it wrong. 79 was the first publication. So yes, it was throughout the 80s and the 90s, all the way up to 1998, but I was right, it was the 70s. You can't say it wasn't. It was in 1979 that they published the first one. That's why it existed when I was born in the 80s. It didn't come to fruition in the 80s and then I discovered it. It was already out there in the jumble sale when I discovered it. The Adventures of Sugarcane Island was 1976, his first novel. The one that we're talking about, Sugarcane Island, was 76. So it was firmly in the 70s. 1976, and it makes a difference because the technology and the kinds of games that were being played and all that sort of stuff, you know, video games did exist in the 80s. They didn't exist in, well, maybe they even did, the arcades. Anyway, the next question I have is Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons. Officially, I've got a wiki for this. Tabletop role-playing game designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, published in 1974. So let's not pretend then that this guy, this clever lawyer, like, I just want to smash these people's heads against the wall sometimes. So he did his in 1976. Dungeons and Dragons comes out in 1974, published in 1974, and is a huge impact on, you know, this genre that we're talking about. Choose your own adventure game. It is choose your own adventure game. And it's a variation of a 1971 game. There was a previous game, wasn't there? Yeah. Miniature War Games. 1971 game Chainmail was the initial rule system. And then this, like when we're talking about computer games that we play now, you know, you don't play Skyrim without this. Like, everything is predicated on this. And it seems weird that in the story about the Choose Your Own Adventure books, they don't say, oh, well, I was aware of Dungeons and Dragons becoming a huge phenomenon. And I thought, we could do that as a book. No, in order to obviate that, I was reading bedtime stories to my children, but I don't read them. I make them up and we choose them ourselves. In fact, a lot like Dungeons and Dragons, but before Dungeons and Dragons, and completely innocently and separately and legally can't be connected, and I can't have to spend any money suing Dungeons and Dragons and they can't sue me. So, got that legally. It was my daughter come up with it even, so you can't sue her, you fuckers. Like, Jesus, it just seems like a shameless rip-off of Dungeons and Dragons, and he came up with some bullshit origin story, so he got away with it. He's a lawyer. Choose Your Own Adventure books. Dungeons and Dragons. I was going to say, well, if this came out after it, maybe, you know, they got ideas. Even like I was saying, the dice, and I felt like, because for me, playing the books led into Dungeons and Dragons. I played the books and I was like, oh right, there's a wider scene where people actually interact. You don't have to do it on your own with the book. Dungeons and Dragons, that's what these books are. Right, forget the books. Dungeons and Dragons is interesting. So it's weird to me that we should be telling this story without mentioning Dungeons and Dragons, but I've just told it, so thank God for me.
Like he was stuck in a loop. He had no choice but to start over at the beginning.
And what annoys me again as well is the way they glamorize all the language. You know, they don't just read the fucking Wikipedia and say, look, it says on Wikipedia, da 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 da. They say, instead of saying what it said on Wikipedia, we're going to have to change the words somewhat and dress it up with language so it sounds like we're writing. But we're not really writing, we're just regurgitating Wikipedia with different words. It's like being a dictionary.
To lawyering. 6 years later, Packard heard about a small publisher called Vermont Crossroads Press, who had a robust selection of children's books. When Packard brought the manuscript...
Robust. A year ago, Boris Johnson popularised that word after Brexit. He said he had a robust plan for Brexit. The word means bollocks, I think, or...
Co-owner Ray Montgomery, he immediately recognized it as essentially a role-playing game in book form. So
there you go, role-playing game in book form. So you're sort of alluding to Dungeons & Dragons.
1976, Sugarcane Island became the first book in the Adventures of You series. Montgomery had been working in interactive and role-playing game design since the early 70s for both the government and private enterprise. He was willing to take a chance...
What? These went by quick. You were doing what? Working in interactive and role-playing game design, right? Yeah, that makes sense. You can do that. You can work in interactive and role-playing game design, I guess.
Early 70s.
Since the early 70s, yeah.
The government.
For the government. Now that needs some explaining, doesn't it? Why are the government employing interactive game development people? What the fuck are you on about? The government. In America as well, that's like the federal, like the main government, I'm assuming, not like your local... Like what?
Private enterprise. He was willing to take a chance on Packard and his book.
We're not getting told.
Island sold 8,000 copies, an incredible...
No, that's not many, is it? 8,000. America's a bit bigger than that.
Number for Vermont Crossroads, but still less than what both Packard and Montgomery believed it could be. In 1977, Montgomery wrote the second...
Not as many as Dungeons and Dragons.
...book in the Adventures of You series titled Journey Under the Sea, using the pen name...
That's an interesting idea. I wonder where they got that from. Journey Under the Sea. 70s undersea film. Wasn't there some... Is it the 80s now? But is it 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea? That's what I'm thinking of, isn't it? 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Look at the fucking... What they've done, right, is they've said, what's the most popular, like, IP around at the moment? Like, and then they've said, no, you're going to... Like, I'm a lawyer, mate. You can't just take the most popular IP and rip it off, can you? You can't just take 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 20,000 Leagues... You can't just take that and make a book, animated book about it. You know, do you choose your... I think a really good idea would be to do the Choose Your Own Adventure book. Disney, Jules Verne. I think they say, no, you can't do that. I'm a lawyer. How close can we make it? How far does it need to be? Where's my... I'm getting my pictures in the right order. Journey Under the Sea. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Journey Under the Sea. So these people that are making these books, it's tragic in a way, because I used to really like these books and I thought they were brilliant, but I did hand them off as soon as I could play Dungeons and Dragons. But Journey Under the Sea is probably basically a rip-off of 20,000. It annoys me that they're just taking other people's ideas. We've got Dungeons and Dragons and we're putting it in book form. Are you in? Yes, I'm in. And then it didn't sell very well. Right, well, yeah. This film sold particularly well. Like these days, there'd be the people outside. I mean, they've got an almost original idea in a way to put it in book form. But there'd be the people outside the gigs selling the knockoff t-shirts in a way, aren't they? Like this is... I'll tell you what it is in a way, isn't it? It's like you go on Steam and you've got these weird games that are the games you think they are, but they're not the games you think they are. Like, it's a bit weird knockoff of an idea. Like Dungeons and Dragons, you're playing it with friends and you're all having a good time and everyone's having... And these people are like, yeah, but you could have it in books. Books are going to be the new big thing. They've been the big thing for a while. In fact, I bet they printed the books quite cheap. I'm imagining now, I'm thinking that in some way, book printing is probably cheaper than other options, like putting a Dungeons and Dragons kit together. You know, you've got to have your own dice and you've got to have miniature tabletop things. We'll do it in a book. Like, it feels like a cheaper version in a way. And for me, it was a great joy to sit and read books and to interact with and play with the book, like a really great joy. So I'm worried now. I don't know about these authors and all the books in the series. Maybe there's some very good ones, but I'm worried that it seems like, as an adult, when I look back on it, the people that designed it and put it together didn't have that love and care. It feels a little bit like maybe they did, but it feels a little bit like they just tried to piggyback off the most popular IP of the day with some kind of, like, now I'm remembering why some of these books were bad, and they were some of them bad. You'd be like, turn to page 42 and it'd be like, oh, you fell down the mountain and banged your head, you're dead. I'd be like, did I? Did I though? You know, sometimes they were a bit, 32 endings and 30 endings. I fell down the mountain and banged my head and I was dead. And like 2 of them. Anyway.
Named Robert Mountain. Publishers Weekly gave the series the thumbs up, saying it was an original idea well carried
You can't call it an original idea. I just proved it.
out. That said, game books, another term used to describe the genre, have been around in some form or another since books have been boring.
So there you
Probably
go.
since the day after the first book was assigned as a lesson in a school somewhere. Printed materials featuring branching narratives can be found in works at least as early as the 1930s. But
Doesn't say that on Wikipedia. This is their own research now, but it's nice that they said it, that it existed and it's been going on, but I'd like them to actually, tell me and show me, but
none of the
it
previous
was.
attempts managed to refine the concept into the proper reading format, packaging, and marketing for widespread appeal.
Okay.
In search of better distribution, Packard left for J.B. Lippincott, a publisher with a larger network. In 1978 and 1979, Packard wrote 2 more books, Deadwood City and Third Planet from Altair. Dinah Stevenson, a junior editor at Lippincott at the time, was tasked with distilling the unique storytelling structure of the books into a simple, concise, easy-to-understand call-out for the jacket. The cover of Deadwood City invited readers to choose
So now they're telling us the story of the art on the front.
your own adventure in the Wild West.
All right, I see. This is the origin of the phrase "choose your own adventure." Someone else came up with the phrase. The artist for the book.
Third Planet from Altair tempted readers to choose your own adventure in outer space. Sometimes history happens when you're not expecting it, and you don't even recognize it. Lippincott made no effort to trademark the phrase, choose your own adventure, because why would they? It was a 1-sentence description on the cover of a few of their books. How could they have known at the time they were sitting on the next Xerox, or Kleenex, or Band-Aid, or Rollerblade, or
Well, I don't think. The application of these books wasn't as universal as a Band-Aid or a photocopy, was it? Or a taser in this example. I don't know if they're sitting on...
or Velcro, a term so associated with a product that it becomes the name for the entire field of products.
No, that... I see what you're saying there. That might be the case, actually. I don't know about Velcro. I think Velcro is a specific pattern. I don't think you can just make your own Velcro type thing and call it Velcro. I think that's the whole point of Velcro, isn't it? That's why we associate it so strongly with it, because it is it. But I see what you're saying, like Alan Partridge would say, it's not a tannoy, it's a PA system. Yes, brand name. But then again, a taser is a taser. I think if you make a taser and you're not the taser company and it's like Black & Decker taser, they'd still call it a taser, wouldn't they? Or would they be forced to call it an electrocution device and taser is the company? Maybe I'm making a mistake there. Now I need to find out. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad reactor.
Xerox or
Xerox, yes, that's a specific company. It doesn't mean photocopy. And I said photocopy because I think of photocopy, not Xerox, because I'm not American. Kleenex definitely is not the only people that make tissues.
Kleenex or Band-Aid or
Band-Aid is a plaster, is a Band-Aid.
Rollerblade.
Rollerblade. No, that's not a brand name, is it? I might need Google for this, not Ecosia. Like, I know they're going to show me rollerblades, yeah? But is Rollerblade a company? Look, rollerblade.com. I mean, there's going to be a rollerblade.com, isn't there? Because, you know, there's going to be a rollerblade.com. But are these rollerblade inline skates, you know, the official rollerblade inline skate? The first person to develop them called them rollerblades, and they're their design, and everyone else is forced to call them inline skates. Is that what I'm thinking? Is that what you're telling me? Rollerblade is a brand of inline skates. Okay, in 1964, Christian Midway, no, I don't care about the people. They sold the company. It became Rollerblade Inc. Inline skates have been used for many years by high-speed skaters before they became mainstream. For the first few years after Rollerblade was developed, Rollerblade Inc. was the only manufacturer of inline skates that had worldwide distribution. This allowed the company to capitalise and grab a huge percentage of the worldwide market share and almost total dominance of the North American market with aggressive advertising campaigns. So inline skates existed. One company was able to pump out rollerblades before anyone else, and they put and now we all call them rollerblades. But really, that's a brand name, and they are inline skates. And before Rollerblade called them rollerblades, everyone called them inline skates, and no one really called them rollerblades. Okay, I would stand educated on that.
Or Taser or
Taser, I need to know. Is Taser a brand? I'm assuming now that they're telling me the truth, but I still want to know it for myself. Taser, like, this is the problem with me reacting, because this is the sort of shit I do when I'm actually just watching YouTube. Maybe I'm a different kind of reactor to other people. Taser is an electroshock weapon used to incapacitate people, sold by Axon, formerly Taser International. Tasers are marketed as less lethal. Police issue Taser device. Is that made by the Taser company? Or is it a Taser device? Because they're no longer the Taser company. They're now called Axon. So what happens when you abandon... You know, it's named after a company. It's a brand name. But what happens when you abandon the brand? So it's no longer a brand name. A Taser device... Axon currently has 3 models of Taser available, but I guess there aren't that many other Taser companies, are there? Or maybe there are loads, I don't know. Taser, what is it? How do we use it? The police. A Taser. Taser, also called Taser in full. Handheld device. Like... Feels weird, doesn't it, to say Taser is a brand name? Like, here's loads of different ones. This is Taser itself. This is Taser's real company. I didn't know that. Taser from Axon. It's a brand name. It is, isn't it? I suppose before this existed, they didn't really have things... Like, they had cattle prods and shit. But this company developed it as an item and said, right, we're calling it the Taser. And everyone else was like, oh, wow, like, there isn't anything else like this on the market. So we'll all call ours Tasers from now on. But you're not... Your electroshock self-defense devices. We are Taser. I wonder if in the future everyone will call cars Teslas. You know, something like that. It's a bit weird, isn't it? But I'll go with that then. I'll accept that there was a Taser company and that I should be more educated in future about the use of it as a generic term. Velcro, though. I thought Velcro. Please don't... Please let me have Velcro, though. Which one's my button for this? This one. Let me have Velcro, though. I mean, I know it's a brand name, but I just assume that that's because every piece of Velcro I've ever seen is from Velcro. I know it's a brand name. I knew it was developed by somebody specific and not, a generic thing that everyone got their hands on. But I thought, okay, Swiss electrical engineer, Georges de Mestral invented his first touch fastener when in 1941 he went for a walk in the Alps and wondered why burdock seeds clung to his woolen socks. They cling to my dog. Anyway, he made this Velcro. It's got, on one side it's got the hoops and on the other side it's got the hooks. We all know what Velcro is. The company continues to manufacture and market the fastening system. Velcro is used across a wide array of industries, yes. But can you buy non-brand Velcro? Does it have to be Velcro, or can you buy like Velcro style fastening? I'll just put tape. Velcro style, Velcro adhesive tape. I want to know, is it Velcro or is it like there's Velcro official? Yeah. This is called Cheppy tape. What's this? Well, if it's just from cheap Chinese manufacturer, I'm not counting it because there obviously is, on Amazon there's a cheap Chinese version of everything, yeah? Cheppy tape. Cheppy. It's Velcro, isn't it? You know it, I know it, we all know it. And if Velcro find out, they're going to come after you. Well, they're probably not, because you're probably like in China and uncome afterable. That's how that works, isn't it? There's a lot of rip-off stuff. But when I say rip-off, I mean copies where you're not supposed to copy it. But I'm assuming otherwise, other than that, is there any actual, does 3M do a brand of, their own version? Or are they not allowed to because Velcro own the patent? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm only seeing Velcro and cheap Chinese stuff. Velcro brand. Hook and loop strip tape, 8 meters. Hook and loop strip tape. Maybe it's non-patentable now these days. Brand Sunriz. Looks a bit sus. They make all this stuff, look. They don't make that. Hook and loop strip tape. Maybe it is Velcro. Maybe they're just not putting the brand name on because maybe they're selling it on. Maybe they're actually getting it from Velcro. You don't know these days. Hook and loop strip tape. So I think Velcro is a brand name. So I don't know why I said let me have Velcro. That is definitely a brand name. I didn't know rollerblades. That was interesting. I've learned some stuff.
Velcro, a term so associated with a few of their books. How could they have known at the time they were sitting on the next Xerox or Kleenex or Band-Aid or Rollerblade or Taser or Velcro?
Yep, but again, choose your own adventure. If they had copyrighted it, I think by now we would just be using the phrase in common parlance, and I don't think you would be sitting on a gold mine. In fact, Dungeons and Dragons would have found a different term. Probably, I don't know, self-determinism adventure or something, and that would become the most popular thing because everyone would use that because of your stupid decide to copyright the phrase choose your own adventure.
Term so associated with a product that it becomes the name for the entire field of products, from synonymous to eponymous.
Yeah, that was the point they were making. It becomes the name of the entire field of products, but I don't think that's the case with Kleenex. I think I would ask for a tissue, not a Kleenex. Maybe in America it's different. I would ask for a tissue, not a Kleenex. I would ask for a photocopy, not a Xerox. And the others were rollerblade. I would say rollerblades, not inline skates, because inline skate sounds clumsy and rollerblade is nice and clean. Xerox, rollerblade, taser. I would just say taser for all electrocution, home, personal defense device items. I would call them all tasers. So that's true of that. And Velcro I'd call all of that kind of fastening. I call it Cheppy tape, but lots of people call it Velcro. But for me, it's Cheppy tape for that. So I think that was all of them, wasn't it? I've pressed a button. Where was the list of these items? I mean, I've really taken us down a diversion here. The wrong diversion. We're talking about Velcro too much. I'm a streamer.
They have known at the time they were sitting on the next Xerox or Kleenex or Band-Aid or roll.
Band-Aid. Definitely don't say that. That's why I couldn't remember it. I've never said that in my life. In England, that's a plaster. If you ask for a Band-Aid, people will think you're talking about that song. Feed the world, let them know it's Christmas time. And if you ask for a Band-Aid, people will think you're talking about Freddie Mercury, mate. You've gone out, defines a field. It's plasters. That's why I'm getting confused, because I think some of these things definitely define the field, and some of them don't. And I think you're giving me a weird collection of things, but you're American, I'll let you off.
Rollerblade or taser or
Taser.
Velcro, a term so associated with a product that it becomes the name for the entire field of products. From
Tasers.
synonymous to eponymous. Meanwhile, in 1978,
Big word there's, synonymous to eponymous. So synonymous means it's words that mean the same thing. You could learn that if you're writing scripts and use the simpler words for people. Eponymous is this definition that it's the giving their name to something named after a particular person. So it's a little bit of clever wordplay there. I suppose this is a video about books, so people that read might think that's fun. For me, it just causes me to have to go and look something up, and I find it a little bit of a highbrow joke. And I'm not being too malicious here, but when I'm making YouTube content, I do like to try and filter myself to try and sound like you can understand me. So maybe I'm wrong again. They've got all the views, not me. Maybe I should be reading Wikipedia and dressing it up with creative and complex language.
Montgomery sold his share of Vermont Crossroads, but retained the rights to the Adventures of You series name. He then negotiated a deal for 6 books with Bantam Books, who were starting a new...
And again, right, I've been finding this along this video. I might be wrong. I do like facts, but they're giving me like some kind of dry facts that I don't give a fuck about. Steve, whatever his name was, doing 6 books with Bantam Books division, and in a way they're giving me sort of like, they could have just said, look, then they did the next few books with this, and they don't have to give, it's like strange hammering of, like, he's speaking fast and he's giving me a lot of details.
Targeting younger readers. Bantam loved the idea.
I'm not remembering all of
series
that.
Of these books, Montgomery invited Packard and
I know who
other
Bantam
writers,
is in
Doug
Montgomery.
Turman, to sign on.
Doug
as
Turman
writers.
now.
The series was officially
Doug
renamed
Turman.
Choose Your Own Adventure, and Bantam took the appropriate legal action to make sure that it was now trademarked.
Well, why did you make that point before? They immediately trademarked it.
3 books were released in 1979. Book number 1, The Cave of Time, was written by Edward Packard.
He did trademark it. He did exactly that. I thought you just said he never did, and it just got out of his hands and it became a thing. No, he absolutely trademarked the bitch.
Book number 2, Journey Under the Sea, written by Ray Montgomery.
Journey Under the Sea. The Cave of Time.
And book number 3, By Balloon to the Sahara, written
Or Around the World in 80 Days.
by Doug Turman. As more books were released, the writers pushed the limits of how they could construct more interesting and unexpected stories.
By reading magazines and tearing out pages from other concepts and collaging them together, I would guess. While smoking cigarettes. I can imagine them in the writer's room now, just smoking cigarettes. Back then, they would have smoked a load of cigarettes as well, wouldn't they? Smoking around all the flammable paper as well. Smoking cigarettes. One of them's on the typewriter. One of them's on the cigarettes, the other one's at the bar. And they got, like, you know, making cocktails and shit. Like, do you want tahini in this? What's tahini? I don't know. I was going to say martini, but I thought I'd switch the words around because I'm a clever wordplay fucker. Like, look, anyway, do you want a margarita? No, that's a pizza. Just give me a cocktail. Like, anyway, they pour me the cocktail. I drink my cocktail. I'm like in the writer's room here, and I've got like a magazine. I'm like, oh, Velcro. Choose your own Velcro adventure. No, next page, and it's like, you know, an advert for Star Wars or some shit, and I'm like, oh, we probably could do it in space, and it, what about a big Death Star? And they turn the next page is like Disney's Jungle Book, and they're like, oh, the Jungle Book would put a snake in it, snakes in space, and then like they're smoking and drinking, and that's basically how it's going. They're just like flicking through literature.
Challenges for the reader. Some books...
No wonder, now thinking about it, no wonder the books themselves sometimes felt like an incohesive jumble of ideas. Now I can totally picture it. I feel like I should go in the other... It's called Falcon, the books I had. I should go in the other room and get them. They're like... It's like somebody's flicking channels between a sci-fi movie and something else. The other channels, I assume. And occasionally going back to the sci-fi movie. Maybe that's just because of the choices I made. You know, maybe that's my own choice.
Included endless page loops, which, while frustrating, gave the reader no option but to start over. Others had endings that could not possibly be achieved even after exhausting all potential paths within
What?
the book.
That seems weird. Endings that you can't get. That seems weird. And then what he also said was endless loops that had the player going around until they made the right choice. That seems fucking weird to put that in as well. It's like they didn't play test them. Maybe they didn't care.
Book number 12, Inside UFO 5440, written by Packard, has perfectly adequate good endings that deliver degrees of narrative closure. But the only way to get to the Miracle World Ultima is to either accidentally turn to a specific page or be rewarded with it by scanning every page in the book to see if you missed something. Sales of
It did what? And why did they do that then? To me, look, I have to now remember, kids, cheaters always win. Right, that's what they put there. That seems like a really bad idea. We'll put a secret page in that you don't know it's in there. You did not make a choice or follow any direction, but now somehow you're descending from space, approaching a great glistening sphere. It's Ultima, the planet of paradise. As your ship slowly descends, you look down on a meadow filled with flowers. And then white-capped, they put all this stuff in the way, golden green and smoky blue. I can't get quite to Ultima, it's obscured by these words. Wait, Ultima. White-capped mountains tower above hills of golden green and smoky blue. Before you lies a crystal city adorned by sparkling lakes and flowering trees. Your ship glides to a landing in a portal. Yeah, like, you did not make a choice or follow any direction, but now, somehow, you are descending from space. It's probably the first sentence in many, the finest fictional narratives, and they probably have to cross it out, most of them, and say, oh wait, hang on, we can't use that. That's a famous sentence from one of the great works. Choose your own fucking, didn't choose this. You can't choose this adventure book.
Sales of Choose Your Own Adventure books were just okay until Bantam attempted an unconventional marketing approach by seeding 100,000 copies in libraries across the country. Suddenly, almost literally overnight, the books became a national phenomenon. Librarians praised...
It's not unconventional. I mean, putting in the books in libraries means people get them for free and they don't have to pay for them. But it's not unconventional to let people sample your product so that they can find out what it's like. It is kind of strange, though, to put them in libraries. But then again, like, I suppose the negative on that is anyone can get the book out, so everyone can read it. Everyone can read it, but there's only one copy. So someone reads it, they tell their friend it's good, their friend gets it, they tell their friend. Eventually, people are going to the library. Sorry, we only have one copy, and they sell more copies to libraries. But the concept is good, and obviously back then, books, libraries, that's your target audience. People that go in libraries and read books. So placing your book within easy reach of your target audience does seem like a good idea, yes.
The enthusiasm with which kids read them, even though they were not exactly quality literature.
And the thing that, as kids as well, I remember this, is that most books had a simple, straightforward premise. You go, A to B, don't you? So it didn't matter necessarily for me. Like, I think they had the concept wrong in their mind. They thought that me as a kid, I wanted to go up in astral space and down to 1,000 leagues under the sea and fight all the zombies and, give me all this fantasy adventure. I would have taken a choose your own Dickens or a choose. Like, this sounds ridiculous. I used to read slightly more. I didn't read Dickens, so that's a bad example. But 1984, for example, as a choose your own. I mean, I read that when I was a later reader. Actually, I'm trying to think of something that I read when I was a bit younger. Clockwork Orange. No, I read that when I was a bit later. Something a bit serious that I read when I was a bit younger. I did go through a lot of fantasy fiction. I did go through a lot of, I suppose mainly that was probably aimed more at children in a way, wasn't it? But any book that I was reading, a choose your own version would have been good. It didn't have to be sci-fi children's. Do you know what I mean? What they didn't realise here at this juncture was that you could open that out. It didn't have to be like just for kids. You could have made a choose your own. You could have, but they weren't necessarily quality writers, I think, so they didn't think in this way. Like, a choose your own romance probably works, doesn't it? Imagine the volume of romance novels that are sold. Do they do that now? I bet they do that now. I need to find out. Choose your own romance novel. They exist, yep, they definitely exist. Choose your own series for adults. Didn't have to be for adults. But any novel now, any concept can be choose your own horror, choose your own they'll be doing that, won't they? That counts as, I suppose, horror counts as like, it doesn't count as childish. It's a bit different from that. But I think, yeah, if this company that made these choose your own adventure books that we're talking about specifically here didn't at this point realise that they could totally branch out into other aspects of the world, they didn't have to keep it in this not narrow but quite expansive realm of absolute random childish. Like, I remember some of the sci-fi ones, like the concept is you're like Glurbian from Glabs. Do you know what I mean? It's like, geez, like good old writing of sci-fi. Just some weird words then, and we're in space again, are we? You know, you've got a tryptagon again. Brilliant. Whatever.
Even read Proust.
This guy's referencing Proust. All right, we're up to DVDs now. So again, it's banged out for kids, isn't it? This idea of choose your own, giving kids agency. But like I said, I think the real gold would have been to find a wider audience than. I mean, children are a big audience. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a big audience selling to kids. But my guess is the choose your own romance, or maybe choose your own. I don't know. I'm thinking now. Fantasy fiction. Quite popular. I don't know the answer. I don't have the numbers, and I can't be asked to look that up. But maybe they should have done that for me.
Lets you control the action. Only you can help discover the secrets of the Abominable Snowman.
Talking of the Abominable Snowman, that looks like an abomination. This Choose Your Own Adventure DVD. I'm glad I never had one or was given one to play with. We didn't have a DVD player when I was a kid, so.
Voices of William H. Macy, Frankie Muniz, and Felicity Huffman bring me.
This looks horrific, doesn't it? It looks like the sort of thing that adults have made for children, and they say, "Look, enjoy that, you little fucker," and you think, "Oh, this doesn't really hit the note for me," but it's on the DVD, I suppose, so it counts. Like, you know, you look at it and you think, as a child, like, I know why it's supposed to be aimed at me, but I don't really think this does it for me.
Action to life. Use your remote to create over 10 different story paths. Don't just pick a movie, choose your own.
And on this, you can't rewind, can you, and go back when you've, like, you know, if you click the thing and you're dead, you're dead. So actually it does, it's interesting. There was a game like this, the fella looked a bit like Zelda. It was on big discs, it was in arcades as well. I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but it was like an arcade machine, but it was a choose your own adventure book into an arcade machine sort of thing, which was different because you're not doing a lot with the buttons, so a bit like what we've been doing today on Genshin Impact.
Own adventure. 1998 plus $3.50 shipping and handling. Must be 18 or older to order. Available at a store near you.
Sit the kids in front of that. Here's our advert. We just graciously watched an advert quite happily, didn't we? Without complaining. Now I'm going to watch some more and I'm going to complain all the way through, which is weird because there was one in the advert. Then there was an advert. I just watched it and it was in the video. Sorry.
Success Choose Your Own Adventure had, you will inspire imitators. Heck, Bantam themselves saw the potential for more choosy titles as the appetite for game books could not be sated. Dozens of copycats, wannabes, clones, and variations popped up in the market over the years.
But you could sue the arse off them, couldn't you? Because you'd copyrighted the whole thing. Or can you not? I mean, I'm glad that you don't. I think you shouldn't be able to copyright the whole concept of Choose Your Own Adventure book. But Endless Quest book, these are called Endless Quests. I didn't know Dungeons & Dragons did these. You see, by this point, I'd moved on. Again, I think for me as a kid, it was a phase rather than a devotion. And maybe if it had all been kicking off at the time, but they said it took from 70s to the 80s and now mid 80s. Maybe these Dungeons & Dragons books came out in the 70s as well then, because Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest, I need to know this now. When did that come out? Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest. Dungeons and Dragons Endless Quest. That's what my life is like, an endless fucking quest. Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest. Give me the Wikipedia. First was books 82, so just throughout the 80s, and then again a rerun in the 90s to 96. They had another bash at it with the second series. So early mid 80s and then early mid 90s. So fair enough. Their direct competition that came out a little bit later, but I suppose I was growing up around that same sort of time. I didn't see this as an explosion of. Maybe I was in the wrong place, you know, maybe being in the Midlands in England, you don't see this exploding onto the scene. But I guess at a certain age, if I'd have been a little bit older than I was, you know, if you'd have been born in the mid 70s, maybe a little bit before, you'd have seen these books appear on the shelves, and then you would have seen their competitors, and it would have been quite a big thing, the Dungeons and Dragons aspect of it. I think they would have been more appealing to me than the original concept, Choose Your Own Adventure, because they look more thought out. More Dungeons and Dragons have better stories. They're all stories. They've gone like. It's like the people who came up with the concept weren't really good creators, not storytellers, but creators. Like, these look to me like better stories. I might be wrong. I'm not reading them, but it's a bit of a shame for the people that came up with this concept, isn't it? But what you should probably do is just draft in really good story creators and writers. Like, share that burden amongst really good one. They probably might have tried to. I just maybe in the reflection on today, you look back and just see a difference there. And I've not got 2 copies of each. I'm not doing a fair assumption. I haven't read all these books, I don't know, but I get a feeling like these look a little bit better. I suppose they had the time to learn whatever lessons they needed before they went into production of these, whereas the others were treading new ground.
Quest books based on their popular role-playing game, Dungeons & Dragons, that challenged the reader to pick a path to adventure. They also released Heart Quest, a series they intended for girls, to pick a path to romance.
Why does it have to be for girls? Why can't it just be that people also... Like, the romance novels are aimed at... Like, they had these things called pot boilers. Oh, it's sexism in novel form. But... the idea was that women, men are at work, so they're busy, they don't need to read these shit books. And women, they're stood there in front of the cooking, like literally pot boilers, and, they want to pass some time. These days, you'd watch the soaps, wouldn't you, or something. Back then, they had, like, women's books, and they're more about romance and stuff. Pot boilers, easy, churned out. Once you've read that one this week, you get another one. Nothing special. You're probably not going to remember them in the great... expanse. They're not going to be winning Booker prizes or anything like. They're just. Is the Booker prize for literature? I don't know. Anyway, look, they're not going to be winning all these prizes. They're not special. They're just books for people to read and pass some time. Pot boilers. They sort of still have them these days, I suppose, don't they? They sort of still have them. Am I going to get a visit from a cat now? Yay! Cat's back. Yes. There he is. The cat's back. And then. He might lick his bum on camera for you there. There you go. It's like... It's kind of bad. He doesn't know he's on the internet, so it's kind of bad in a way, isn't it? Voyeur. Cat voyeur. A feline voyeur. A series they intended for girls to pick a path to romance. I'm surprised that it... I mean, maybe it was, I don't know, but it seems to me like if you just expand that out to the wider market for books and you look at where the huge market is, I assume young girls wasn't the biggest slice of the market, but... maybe older and grown-ups
and adventure.
And they knew they had the idea. They like right on the idea there.
Other comparable series included Time Machine, Interplanetary Spy.
No, I had these. That's ringing a bell. Because I was well into Transformers. Again, I don't think I had them all. I think it was a thing I had to find at a book sale or cheap on a jumble sale or something, but I definitely Transformers Choose Your Own Adventure sounds right to me.
Wizards, Warriors, and You.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they didn't release those in England, but
with licensed characters from G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thunder.
Doctor Who would have been in the UK. Indiana Jones, I don't know. Never saw that. G.I. Joe is not really my bag.
Thundercats, Doctor Who, and James Bond. Twist-a-Plot, Lone Wolf, Zork, a What Do I Do Now book, Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Be a Detective mystery stories. You Say Which Way, case closed.
I'm surprised this story is now not... Look, there's Star Wars eventually. I'm surprised he's not saying this is now branching out into adults and the wider market, because just because you're a grown-up and you're reading... Like, if you're reading a serious political novel, it might still be good to have a choose your own adventure aspect. Maybe I'm not... Sniffy's is saying... not every book can be Bunny Cooler. I don't know what that book is. Like Dracula. We're going to find out now. I'm in a finding out mood. Oh my god. I'm going to have to watch a 30-second advert for a 2-second clip that I want to see. Which is ironic. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, this is the best room in the house because it has all the vegetables you could eat. What? You had that day?
Yeah, I thought you guys loved vegetables.
I'm tired.
That's pretty fucking cool. That's pretty fucking cool. It's cooler than these books.
There was official Choose Your Own Adventure Star Wars books, one for
I
each
know
of
what
the
I'm watching
three
later.
films that existed prior to 1999. Years later, you could choose your destiny, decide your destiny, or try your eyes at Star Wars role-playing adventures books. Bantam licensed
I didn't know Nintendo did it.
Disney characters for a full series of books for most of their popular films.
Luigi's not been drawn properly there, though. Luigi often gets a bad end of a stick. Beaten with the ugly stick, Luigi. It just really doesn't... Luigi, poor Luigi.
At the time,
You didn't read... You only read the books? There's a cartoon. Alright, it's got cool voices, this cartoon. I didn't know anything about either, but it appears to have cool voices.
My wings. Not cool.
Manicula's brother just drained that creature! Why, brother? Why?
This is why we need your help, Manicula. Your brother drains supernatural creatures and steals their powers.
What's happening? What did he say? Okay, Manicula.
Things are getting out of hand there.
Nintendo released You Decide the Adventure. Success also attracts controversy because Choose Your Own Adventure books were full of kids getting killed in horrible and horribly creative ways.
Well, I mean, yes and no. It wasn't actually kids getting killed. It was you, the character. You know, if you give it to an adult to read, it's them getting killed. Like, you get killed. Like I said, there was a lot of being killed, like falling off the mountain and banging your head. There was a lot of like endings. Oh, you took the wrong path and now you're dead of this thing. And it was like he's right in that horrible creative. You know, sometimes it'd be like, would you like to go north past the mountain pass or south past the beach? And you choose north, and it's like the rock slide kills you. Like, you know, it's like you didn't see it coming, but it's environmental. Like,
And that kid was you, because you were the one that everything was happening to.
but it didn't feel visceral or anything. Like, you know, you were like, oh, that's annoying. I'll turn back and go a different way. Like, you know, it didn't feel like visceral. It was just often, you know, end of game, end of turn. You know, a lot like if you're playing a computer game, and because it was set. The premise was this book is a bit of a game. It's a bit of fun. You're choosing your own adventure. It felt a lot like a game. So when you died, you didn't feel like this visceral ending. You went back and played again. A lot like in a computer game where you just get another life and you just carry on. Like, it didn't feel painful. But in other books, I've encountered death of characters. It's not often you kill the main character that you're voicing. I've wanted to write, and other people probably have written a book where the main character dies for some reason, and you suddenly it's an incorrect thing to do, like to build emotional investment in a character and then kill them off before, like, not too early, but a little bit into the book. So you're sort of like, well, hang on, I'm gonna have to drift now. What's going on? And we're gonna pick up with someone else's story, and it's a bit weird. And I like this story. You know, like, it's a bit of a naughty, wrong thing to do, but I'd quite like to do that in a book, or at least I like the concept. So anyway, if you were invested in a character and you'd grown to be emotionally invested in them through the story, and they die, you can feel it. You know, you can. That's the whole point of good stories like that. But in a choose your own adventure book, while you're flicking back and forth and rolling dice and, you know, fighting space monsters, if your character is thrown off the space bridge and your head pops, you don't go, oh my god, fuck, that's emotionally scarred me as a child. You're just like, yeah, my head popped, fucking hell, man, I'm not going down that one again. Better remember page 74 is a fucking duff, you know, like,
Avalanches, explosions, shipwrecks, tarantula attacks, firing squads. Maybe you get cut in half by a spaceship door. Maybe you get turned into a squid and eaten by a shark, eaten by a whale, eaten by a lion. Maybe you're just a character in an old man's dream and you will die if he wakes up.
What?
One reader reviewed a Choose Your Own Adventure book saying, quote, I got a spear in my back and went in quicksand, but other than that, the book was great. Another reader stated that the best part of the series is you don't know if you're going to die or not. I died twice, and I stayed alive twice. Dr.
That's
George
it.
Borelli said, there is a lot that affects us that we're not aware of. I wouldn't allow my children to read this. However, he notes that these extreme situations aren't repulsive or violent. There is often a quasi-comic sense in the disaster. It's exaggerated and melodramatic, and that keeps it from seeming harsh or nasty. There's also an underlying code in the books. You, as a reader, never hurt anyone.
Really?
Since 1980, Bantam Book.
Really? Maybe I just didn't get to do the right choices, but I'm pretty sure that through my space adventures, maybe I was reading a competitive book and not the official Choose Your Own Adventure, but I'm pretty sure during my space adventures, I was encouraged to fire my space blasters at quite a few, or maybe they don't count as anyone. You know, just random aliens, bad tribesmen.
Was owned by a German company called Bertelsmann. In 1986,
Bertelsmann
purchased another
I think.
publishing company called...
Sorry, I'm not being racial or anything, but if it was a German company, they probably did pronounce it Bertelsmann. So.
Doubleday. They merged Bantam and Doubleday into a holding company called Bantam Doubleday.
Is this what I
Dell.
mean? Like, they're doing this confusing. I get it; it's the facts of the matter, but it seems like almost pedantic detail here that I'm not going to remember who merged what company into what.
In 1998, Bertelsmann
I suppose it's the kind of pedantic detail that you'd find on Wikipedia, isn't it?
purchased another publisher called Random House and merged them with Bantam Doubleday Dell to create a new holding company called Bantam Dell, part of the Random House publishing group.
I mean, I've heard of Random House, yeah.
All this to say that over the years, over the reshuffling of offices, Choose Your Own Adventure lost an internal advocate. With each year that went by, there was no single person to champion the books, to steer the ship, keeping them fresh and relevant, responding
Okay, what you're sort of saying here is that over the years, the company that owned Choose Your Own Adventure books got bought and moved, and eventually they were a part of a bigger conglomerate, Random House. And during that process, the people that worked on the original books, they left, they walked away with their check. And now nobody that officially has a hand, like an iron in the fire, is there working on them. So they were kind of adrift in the creative space.
the tastes of the audience. In the late 90s, after 20 years of Choose Your Own Adventure books, Bantam was no longer keeping the entire series in print. The first 10 or so books were still selling, as well as whatever new books.
I suppose I was going to say it blows my mind that you wouldn't keep the entire series in print, because people that like to Choose Your Own Adventure books also like to collect things. So, like, what are you doing not providing the entire... Like, that would have annoyed the fuck out of me if I'd have been collecting these books. Or, like, you know, you're introduced to it as a young person. It's designed for younger people. And a couple of years later, you know, you're there, you're introduced to it. They're at 666 Fifth Avenue, New York. That's a sign of the devil. These books are the devil. You're introduced to these books, and then you're like, oh, these books are great. I'll go and buy the next one. And you're, oh, they're a series. All right. And then, like, for my birthday, I'm going to go and buy 4 of them. And then, like, I'm done, because you won't let me buy all the others. What? Like, seems weird, that does. But I suppose they just looked at the sales and said, these ones are shit. No one wants them. They're not selling at all. Stop printing them. Just for Christ's sake, stop printing. Once they became this conglomerate with all these other companies, you know, it became a business where people didn't care about the books. They just looked at it from an economic standpoint. They immediately stopped printing a whole load of them. And that would be because of poor sales. And that would have probably been because they just weren't that good, I'm guessing.
Were coming out, but everything in the middle had lapsed, and sales began to drop off.
You don't know about sales dropping off being a mark of quality. Obviously, something's not novel anymore, and there's a lot more competitors, so sales might take a dip. The other thing that you might consider is that you have to market and promote certain things, even if it's an ongoing concern. Like, once people know about it, they know about it, but there's always a new generation of kids. There's always another, you know, round the corner, a new customer that doesn't know what's going on. So it might be that these books started to fail in their sales because of other factors like competition, and this conglomerate business decided not to market them anymore, so sales really dropped off. Or it might have been they threw loads of marketing money at it and people didn't really care. So you don't know whether people care about it because sales dropped off. You just know that it became less of a financial boon to the company. So
the millennium turned, Bantam not only stopped publishing Choose Your Own Adventure books, but let the trademark lapse on the name. Ray Montgomery and his wife Shannon Gilligan decided...
I bet Ray thought he'd got that in the bank forever, and then he sold the company and they fucked him over by not trademarking the name in the future.
Decided that they were going to license the stories from
He's
Bantam
going to license
shop
them
to other publishers, but after getting a bunch of crap offers, they decided to just re-register all the trademarks and do it themselves.
There you go.
Shannon Gilligan had worked on Choose Your Own Adventure books since
Bless her, there she is, look.
1981 and had been writing them since 1985.
Well, I wish her a load of success, obviously.
In 2002, they had successfully acquired all the rights to the stories and the name Choose.
And if they're the ones that put them together in the first place, you would hope, I mean, unless there's another author out there that's like, oh, they fucking trademarked my book from under me. I'm hoping that they, you know, after all of this rigmarole with all the corporate bollocks, they ended up with the trademark and their own at least their own creative work under their own belt, and they can do what they want with it. I would have, over the course of this, as I said, there are other decisions that I may have made, but I'm sure they've done quite well out of it. You would hope.
Your own adventure. In 2003, they founded a company called ChooseCo, the new and current publisher of the series for everything except the books that were written by Ed Packard. When the original contracts were made up for the rights to the stories, there was a clause that allowed the ownership to revert back to the author if the book was out of print for more than 6 months. Therefore,
it seems like this kind of weird, confusing business legal, like, it seems like they're stuck. This can quite happen. And look, there they are, the books. They've got their own popularity. People still into it. I would hand that on to a smaller division. Like, whatever it makes, it can pay for somebody to sort of manage the sale and continue. It's not evolution. These things existed. People love them. They are what they are. You're always going to have a convention to turn up at. You're always going to have an audience of people who want to collect the full set, who, you know, maybe grew up with them or whatever. That's always going to exist. Have a like little media manager, shop manager person run that. And the next step for these, because we're now way past abandoning the idea that we could open into other markets, take this. The concept is out there. It's gone and done. You know, you've got your place in history. But the step that I think is completely missing, unless I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong here. Let's just do Google. Choose your own adventure online. There'll be a lot of them, but is there not the official? Choose Your Own Adventure games on Netflix and YouTube. Choose Your Own Adventure. What I'm saying is, what they should be doing, and if they're not doing it, then, you know, they've missed another trick, is, like, we're not just expanding it to new markets now in terms of adults, but they should be using the new media. Like books, it worked, but, you know, who's reading books these days? The people that are, you've got your own little division. Like, what, it can only be, it doesn't have to be more than one person to organise the continued, to at least pay for their own job and some profit by getting these books sold at every little convention and amongst a very niche audience that's still into these books. But in general, I should be able to go on Steam and play all of these books as Steam games, as like a collection. And not some cheap shit either, like, do it properly. Do you know what I mean? It should have been done years ago, so I'm surprised it's not there, like, as an online service as well. Through Netflix, obviously everyone's doing their own. Markiplier's done his own, but you could say we are the original, and we've got this special, you know, thing that we are the original. So you market those original books, the exact original books, and that's your avenue into these markets. So whether it be on Netflix or Steam or Game Boy or Nokia phones, not Nokia, I'm an old dinosaur. What do they use now? iPhones. You know, put them on, make an app. Have they done that? Choose Your Own Adventure book app. The official, let me just type that in, the official Choose Your Own Adventure book app. This is just somebody who's doing one, isn't it? Like, this isn't the official Choose Your Own Adventure. Like, it doesn't look like it to me, does it? Do you know what I'm saying? Since the update, people have expressed writing in apps. I've not followed up with anything. I decided to stop development of this app and make the existing stories free. In future, someone does write more stories for the app. They may or may not be paid. A collection of short stories the user controls. This is just some individual doing this. It's not the official. And you own the trademark for that, for Christ's sake. So why are you allowing that to sit there when someone like me is looking... Oh, Bandersnatch, of course. Bandersnatch was huge, wasn't it? It was Black Mirror, and therefore it was... what's his fucking name now? I don't want to look at the screen and see it. I want to know it in my brain. Because I respect him. Charlie Brooker. It was Charlie Brooker's Bandersnatch, wasn't it? On Black Mirror. So, you know, it's going on out there. Like, you can be part of this conversation, and you should be. You can't copyright it and get any money from Bandersnatch, but when they talk about Bandersnatch, your media person should be sending out all the media teaser promo things. And again, this person pays for themselves by selling those books week in, week out. So it's part of their job. Get that out. Make sure that we're in the conversation. The original Choose Your Own Adventure book people help Charlie Brooker by, you know, on a video, like whatever. Like you don't have to do anything big. Like you find out Charlie Brooker's doing this, and you like send him an email. We're the original people. We want to help us any way we can. Can we, have a video call? And Charlie Brooker might say, yeah, speaking with the people who have been working in this industry for all this time before I start a project like this, or while I'm working on it, that might be great. We'll have a video call, and then you don't know where things go. But the point is that you can then add to the, you keep yourself in the conversation. You're not going to stay relevant because your books, those books having to be sold in these niche markets, like I say, and they will continue to be, but you enter these new markets, and you should have been for years, and it turns out other people are, so it works. It absolutely works. But you enter these other markets, and you should have your own app, and you should have your books in app form, basically the official, the official, and they should be available in other. Are we talking ebooks? No, you haven't even got an ebook. Library binding. What's library binding? That's the library version or the paperback. Like, how am I not able to buy these books as part of an ebook, even? I mean, it's a bit different to play it on an ebook, isn't it? But therefore, make your app. I think they're stuck in this idea, but I mean, maybe it's done quite well for them and they don't have to worry. Maybe they're fantastically rich and it doesn't matter. But, like, there's this other world now, and this should be... I mean, it is part of it. It inspired it. You can't argue that it didn't, as much as I was critiquing it for being a collage of other people's ideas. Just brought to choose your own adventure book form. I'm sure the Abominable Snowman existed purely in their imagination before they wrote this book, and then everyone else cottoned onto the idea and it became a thing. But you've got that thing. I'm great as a consultant. I'm not so great. If I was doing these books myself, I'd be sat on my arse just fucking raking it in from the trademark and leaving it at that. But maybe, there's more that could be done here. I'm sure I've got a good point there, haven't I? Like, don't be turning up at the conventions yourself and living off the past. Send someone else to do that. Sell the books, yes, but... if you got that up and running, if people were consuming your media, I say, it's a lot of hassle and we sell the books. People like the books. Yeah, but if you got it onto the app and it was your official and people had a resurgence, maybe it'd be hip for the hipsters. Maybe you'd get trending on Twitch or something. At that point, you go hard and you go with you try your hardest to launch, to deal with like an EA or Bethesda or someone like, obviously Bethesda aren't going to really want to, but they might. Someone might say, look, you've got this brand power, this niche nostalgia power, and we don't want your ideas, but we'll quite happily work with this concept. Bethesda games are essentially a modern choose your own adventure book in game form. Why don't we do something a bit, you can put your name to the game and we'll put our thing to your project, a bit of collage there, and you just say, look, I'll employ 5 or 10 developers, game developers, let them do it. I'm not going to touch anything. And you could actually have something really next level with that, couldn't you? But it seems, and I don't know what's going to happen in this story, but it seems to me that these people are quite happy, and maybe they should be quite happy just to sit on the earnings of these books and sell them at conventions.
Packard owned the rights to his own books, and he started his own company called U Ventures, a callback to his original concept, Adventures of U. In 2006, ChooseCo moved Choose Your Own Adventure into the home theater, exploring new platforms.
Home theater, okay. ChooseCo, right? I don't know about all this. Maybe it always is called Choose Your Own Adventure in the public, and these other names are just like the behind the scenes names, because like if you think you're going to rebrand for the modern audience by calling yourself ChooseCo or something, then I wouldn't be doing that. That's not on my business plan. But let's see how much of my business plan they follow out.
Choose Your Own Adventure, The Abominable Snowman is an interactive animated DVD movie that allows viewers to make choices with their DVD remote.
I see this as before I was critiquing it hard, but now I see it as a move into this new market. I say okay. And I'm guessing that they had to get animators on board and they didn't do this work themselves. William Macy and Frankie Muntz. So I'm saying okay now. This is a trial in that area. A bit surprised that they didn't see the potential in video games and they went for a DVD, but okay.
The same way they would turning pages in the book. And they weren't just messing around with this. The voice cast featured William H. Macy, Frankie Muniz, Lacey Chabert, Felicity Huffman, Phil Lamar, D. Bradley Baker, James Hong, Daryl
But again, it's just for children, isn't it? It's like you've seen the success of Star Wars Choose Your Own Adventure books sold in the millions, I'm guessing. And you saw that and you thought, right, well, we'll do ours for this, like, narrow market of dullards, you know, kids, and I wonder sometimes about the concepts and the I wonder if they think because we're doing it for kids, it doesn't have to be that smart or clever, because some of the choose your own adventure anyway.
Bara, Kim My Guest, and the Luke Mark Skywalker Hamill. The interactive DVD
Mark
film won
Hamill.
the 2006 iParenting Media Award, a kid's first all.
I don't care about the 2006 iParenting Media Award. That is probably in the Wikipedia or on the front of the fucking DVD. Like, there's no such thing as an iParenting Media Award. Just shut up. It didn't win an award. Like, tell me if it won an Oscar or some shit.
Star Award and the Film Advisory Board seal of approval. However, while it was intended to be the first in a series of films, as of this video, no other films have been produced.
And I don't know, again, if that's because that just wasn't financially viable or, you know, there's a difference here in, like, what I was talking about was being online. So maybe this was just a bit before the internet. Maybe it was a bit before that. But computer games, again, you know, selling copies of a game, software, I think there's a difference. Once you put a film together, you're selling it on DVD. I get that. You've got to shift your units, haven't you? So maybe there was just, like, you're putting this in the market now. I was talking about, I don't know when the date of this is, let's just check this, the Abominable Snowman DVD. Abominable Snowman, choose your own, I can't spell it right, adventure DVD. 2006. They did say it, didn't they? 2006. So just 2006 gaming, obviously, is far beyond what we were just watching there, right? Game like what we were just seeing there. Games can like shit that, can't they? In 2006, I can't remember exactly what was happening in 2006, but we're talking Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Right, that's what you're up against now in the choose your own adventure world. Gaming, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Lego Star Wars 2. Like, you know, gaming is well on its way at this juncture, isn't it? Gaming is huge. If you didn't notice that you should have been turning your books into computer games, like, even, you know, I'm thinking now of Joe Dever's Lone Wolf, which we haven't finished and even got into the early starts of in our playthrough. We started it once and we didn't get into the combat, it took so long. So but you know, if you're not realizing where the you know what's happening at 2006, you're making this is the problem, is like you're making this in 2006 for kids. So I think it is totally not understanding the market.
Same way they would turning pages in the book. And they weren't just messing around with this. The voice cast featured William H. Macy, Frankie Muniz, Lacey.
They obviously got a bit of money to spend on it, but spending money doesn't equate, like, just because you've got the man who's the voice of Star Wars, he's Skywalker, in 2006, the kids don't give a fuck about Mark Hamill, do they? In 2006, the kids don't give a fuck about Mark Hamill. So that's actually quite a bad choice in a way. It's like a choice that in 2006 your parents might like Mark Hamill, so like they bought you the DVD. Maybe they're looking at who buys the DVD, the parents. So they've done Mark Hamill. It seems weird, doesn't it? Seems like a weird choice to do a piece of media at this level, to enter into a market that is now dominate, like the children's toy DVD. It's on a fucking DVD, and they're going to take that and think, they're going to open it up and think, if you bought me a game, and they're like, no, it's a DVD. Is it a film? No, it's a choose your own adventure DVD. So it's not good like a film, and it's not fun like a game. So we'll enjoy that. I don't know, it feels off to me. It feels a bit off. But I keep going back to that. That's in the way there. The Abominable Snowman. Bandersnatch. Lots of interesting things are coming up. I just feel like they're making some weird decisions.
DVD movie that allows viewers to make choices with their DVD remote the same way they would turning pages in the book. And they weren't just messing around with this. The voice cast featured William H. Macy, Frankie Muniz.
Maybe I'm wrong, you know, maybe this is aimed at really young kids, and maybe that was like mad good for young kids at the time, but...
Lacey Chabert, Felicity Huffman, Phil Lamar, D. Bradley Baker, James Hong, Daryl Sabara, Kim My Guest, and
the amount of money they must have spent on that voice cast. The anime, like, at the time, I bet it feels like one of these projects where, you know, someone maybe has got, like, they've said they want to do it, they've given them a budget, and they thought, oh, hello, like, wait, get all my mates in, let's make some money. Like, once they're paying to the outlay to make it. The people that are making it have creamed it, haven't they? Like, and they've turned this out. I don't know, man. It just someone's got paid along the way.
The Luke Mark Skywalker Hamill. The
Like Mark Hamill got paid, didn't he?
interactive DVD film won the 2006 iParenting Media Award, a Kids First All-Star Award, and the Film Advisory Board Seal of Approval. However, while it was intended to be the first in a series of films, as of this video, no other films have been produced.
So it obviously couldn't have been that financial. Or maybe it was just financially viable to, make its money back, but it wasn't financially viable to do more. Or maybe the market shifted and it became not viable to do more. But it seems a bit weird they didn't go on from strength to strength from that, and that they didn't enter into. I'm saying enter into the digital market, like games. Like, even if it is on the set, what's weird about this interactive movie, choose your own adventure thing, is that they've aimed it specifically markedly at kids, and now it's lost the nostalgia factor because kids don't have the nostalgia for that they're kids. But the people that do have the nostalgia for it don't want to play the Abominable Snowman. So why have they not brought their actual choose your own adventure books to DVD? Do you know what I'm saying?
In 2010, on the other side of the Choose Your Own Adventure legacy, Ed Packard released an app for the iPhone.
There we go.
Return to the Cave of Time is a sequel to his first official Choose Your Own Adventure book number 1 from 1979, The Cave of Time. The app brings sound and flashing lights into the digital reader for a bit more immersion than
It's a sequel, it's not the original, and it doesn't look like the original, and it brings sound and flashing lights, so that's going to annoy you. I would have just gone straight up, let's get the original. Maybe they don't have the rights for it in some way. I don't know. It seems a bit weird to do it this way, but yes, tick on the box, tried the app.
Printed page. Packard released the app through his company U Ventures in cooperation with Simon & Schuster. 2 more stories, also based on his original books, The Forbidden Castle and Through the Black Hole, were released in 2000.
Because to make the app, you might think you have to hire an app developer, and at this junction, you might be an old chuffer and young chuffer knows how to work the apps, but really, to work it, all you have to figure out is, how do we get the pages of this book onto this fucking thing? That's it. When I press this button, take me to that page. That's it. And that technology must have been abundant, easy, copy paste. So at this juncture, all you're going to try and do is get your apps go. And once you've got your foot in this new market, what I was saying earlier is you try these different markets, and they're doing the right thing. DVD app, I get it. They're trying it. It's a little bit late. 2012 here. 2012. It's a little bit late, but try the new markets, and once you've got your foot in the door, if it's successful, ideally you go with your best out of all those books you've ever done. One of them is your top seller, the best book, the one that most, when people are nostalgic for it, they come down in the what do they call it? The conventions. That's the one that sells out, the one that everyone likes. Oh, I remember this one from my childhood. You get that one and you do that really well on your app. And if it goes well, then you branch out to the books. And if that's going well, you start bringing in new authors and new stories and, expanding on that universe. And if it doesn't go well, you don't have to, the same with the computer games. I thought, apps, games, same with computer games. Get it on the computer games, get it on the PC. And if it goes well, do more. And if it doesn't, you don't carry on.
12, they were also released as regular printed books. In 2018, Z-Man Games released a board game called Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger.
I feel like that is literally, they've licensed it from, Z-Man Games have licensed the name of these people. That's how I feel about this. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they felt this was a market they wanted to enter in, what did they say, 2012. They decided that making a Choose Your Own Adventure, I would expect a company that's already selling board game, card game, physical games, said, we're doing well at this, but we'd do better if we had a bit of what would I say? We'd do well if we had an IP. We can't afford Terminator. And in fact, our audience that play these games, they're much more nostalgic for those old Choose Your Own Adventure books. Oh, really? They're saying in the meeting, and they get on the thing. We can get that. That's a trademark. They're willing to deal. We'll give them 2 cents every time we sell a box. They're happy, we're happy, let's go. So it might have been that way, maybe. I feel it's a strange move if you're branching out into the digital space to then make a card game. But
In 2018, Z-Man Games released a board game called Choose Your Own Adventure,
2018.
House of Danger, a cooperative adventure game by Prospero Hall, based on book number 15, written by Ray Montgomery. Gather
I assume that's the most popular book of all the set. That's why they've chosen that one.
your friends, make risky choices, collect bizarre clues, and face mortal challenges. You discover your own end to the game. In 2019, Audible partnered with ChooseCo to create Choose Your Own Adventure, an immersive Audible experience that runs on Alexa-powered devices. To start, just say, Alexa, open Choose Your Own Adventure from Audible. Then
Excellent.
prepare for a classic adventure updated with professional audio and voice performance.
Of all of them, that's the best one, and that impresses me. I hope that, I mean, I don't care whose idea it was. If it was Amazon going to them saying, look, we want this on our Amazon, we've done it again. If you've got a focus group or whatever and someone says, we like these Choose Your Own Adventure books, you just go to the font, the fountain of, you know, go to the original. We want your name on this thing. Yes, please. Hopefully, but if it was his idea, you know, Montgomery's idea or their idea, and they approached Amazon, kudos, 1,000,000, like 100%. That's, I mean, either way, it's still good. I hope they've done it well, and that if you use it, it functions great. That would be awesome, because that's exactly bang right. Well done.
That same year, SpeechCloud Studios, based in Amsterdam, partnered with Edward Packard on Kickstarter to fund an Alexa-based interactive adventure adapting his 1987 book, Journey to the Year 3000.
Okay, that feels weird. Is Packer doing his own separate thing now? And he's doing it on Kickstarter, and he's seen them successful on Amazon, and now he's on Kickstarter trying to get his own one up and running. It feels like, shouldn't that be under the same banner? Shouldn't that be coming through as the sequel to the popular Alexa app? Like, why is this separate? Have they had a falling out?
Officially launched in October of 2020 with voice performance by David Corenswet. Activate it by saying, Alexa, launch Journey 3000. Kids that were born in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s have grown up with Choose Your Own Adventure.
I don't know what, again, I'm going to have to go back for this. I'm sorry, but it said you're welcome, I think. You're welcome.
Kids that were born in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s have grown up with Choose Your Own.
So they're saying that's the good one. I don't know if there is a dispute amongst the industry standard here, but maybe Packard left of his own device and enjoyed putting his own thing on Amazon Alexa, you know, because his friend told him to and they worked together on it. It just feels like they're in competition now for some reason, but...
own adventure in their lives. It's such a well-known part of the pop culture landscape that the phrase choose your own adventure not only became a common language phrase, but a term to refer to just about anything that offered the consumer a choice.
We said that earlier.
Trying to decide between pizza and pasta? Choose your own adventure. Stay home and watch movies or go out with your friends? Choose your own adventure.
Troll Phil in the chat and get him all riled up over something that he didn't realise he was going to get riled up about. Choose your own adventure.
Cat's about to puke. Do you leave them on the rug or pick them up to put them on the floor? Choose your own adventure.
I don't remember using it in this way as like a, you know, I don't know, maybe this is an American thing. You know, maybe it became a meme, but I don't remember it being a meme.
When a name or phrase becomes so commonly understood by the general public and associated...
I mean, hang on, wait. It's not saying like, you know, I'm gonna, like... It's not saying it's so common. I mean, it's commonly understood because it literally says what it is. Like, it's not misunderstood. You can't misunderstand the concept of choose your own adventure. What does that mean? It means you choose your own adventure. Oh, right, I see. So, like, it's not like, you know, are you know, the Pepsi effect. What's the Pepsi effect? I'll have to explain that to you because it's not implicit in the name. Whereas choose your own adventure.
With a product or experience, it's a phenomenon called genericide. It means that the trademark term has become so commonly used that it can no longer be trademarked. It is now generic.
That's amazing. That must be a legal thing. And they lost all their fucking, all that trademark money that's coming in over the years. That's stopped now. No one's paying the trademark for that anymore. But by now, you've established yourself as, like, you know, the choose your own adventure company with these branches in these different media departments, and Amazon want to work with you. So I think it doesn't matter, does it? I think now you're on to this next level.
It's the difference between Xerox and dumpster, between Kleenex and teleprompter, jacuzzi and flip phone.
I don't know what you're on about.
In 2016, Netflix entered negotiations to license the trademark phrase choose your own adventure. In 2018, Netflix released an episode of Black Mirror called Bandersnatch. The premise of the episode was a programmer who was adapting a choose your own...
Yeah, we just said about that. So they licensed the name Choose Your Own Adventure, and in some way, the people who did the official Choose Your Own Adventure weren't involved in any way, and they're going to sort of say, oh, well, you know, now they've lost it. But I would have thought Charlie Brooker would have been well in with the Choose Your Own Adventure people, asking them questions, picking their brains, having a chat to them, because he loved their books. That's why he made Bandersnatch.
adventure type book into a video game. The episode was written and produced in 2017 and aired in 2018. In that time, however, Netflix failed to come to an agreement with ChooseCo over the use of the phrase Choose
Unbelievable.
Adventure.
Like, if you're ChooseCo, you're bending over backwards just to do anything with Netflix so that you can use their name on your stuff. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, being on Netflix and them using your net. You just said, the only thing I want, like, if it was me for this, yeah, and it sounds weird because of all that business with that kid who used that bit of my ASMR video, and I was like, please take it out of your video. Or at least, give the money to charity. Christ. Anyway, it seems weird me saying this, but for them, ChooseCo, Choose Your Own Adventure Company, the Choose Your Own Adventure, the official Choose Your Own Adventure Company, for them, working with Netflix should be a pleasure and a joy. And all I want, okay, is our logo and our thing be displayed, like, in conjunction, even if you want to say in conjunction, or we can discuss the language, but you can use it, absolutely. You can trademark it and license it, yeah. Because it's a trademark, I'm going to want it, just our actual logo. Is that okay? And Netflix would have said, yes, that's fine. Your logo will be in the credits. Let's continue. And maybe you could have negotiated a small fee for that, even, if you're lucky. It's not about that. It's the validity of being with the official. Netflix at the time was an absolute powerhouse. I mean, it still is considered to be quite big. There's a lot more competition for Netflix these days, but at the time it was the online broadcast service, wasn't it? Everyone was Netflix and chill. It became the it's an eponymous word that he was talking. He was saying about earlier. It became this brand. Netflix became a what he just said about the trademark thing. It became the Netflix meant watching things online at home. Oh, and you could have been, and instead you've had a discussion. I imagine it's about money, and no, you're not doing it together, and they just go ahead and don't use it. Like, they asked you to be part of it,
but they used it anyway. ChooseCo.
Like, it's not, again, it's different from what happened with me because no one asked me to be part of that, and I just had to find out I was part of it on the random. But they used it anyway, and ChooseCo sued them, and that's different for me because I wouldn't have sued that kid, or I didn't even give him a copyright strike. I just asked him, like, quietly behind the scenes if he would be considerate and maybe give some of the money to charity. And what I really wanted him to do was make a video about mental health support. That was what I really wanted him to do. And if he did that, he could leave my bit in the video and we could just move on. But he refused, and that rubbed me up the wrong way. So then I wanted to have him about it. But Choose Your Own Adventure decided to sue Netflix. Choose Your Own Adventure decided to get into a legal battle with the biggest online media. We sell books at conventions. They're quite popular, I do know them. I do know them well. They're from the 70s and the 80s. Yes, this is the year 2020, and or before COVID, I suppose, 2018, wasn't it? And we want to sue you, Netflix, the biggest online broadcaster of this day. Like, where do we start? Like, Netflix has a legal division. You're going to have to hire a lawyer. Like, what's going on? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's like me going up to Mike Tyson and being like, listen, Mike, I'm going to start punching you, and you're quite equally fair and in your equal valid and right to punch me back if you so choose. Have at it. And like, expecting the best. Like, what are you going to get out of this? You're going to sue Netflix.
Sued Netflix for willful infringement, stating that the episode was so dark that it would quote.
I bet they want money. I bet for them it's about this trademark money thing, isn't it? I imagine they are friends with they must have had a lawyer over the years to deal with this trademark law. They must have used a lawyer to enforce their trademark sometimes, and maybe even sometimes behind, I don't know what they've done, but I'm just guessing sometimes they've gained financially from the enforcement of this trademark. Maybe someone used it and they didn't know, and they've come around and said, oh, you got to pay us some money, stuff like that. I don't know, but it seems like they've got advice from a lawyer who said, we can sue Netflix. And what Netflix will have to do is just give you a check for a chunk of change. And to Netflix, it's just a production cost. But I think, again, that's a hugely stupid thing to do, because it could have been Bandersnatch, a modern Choose Your Own Adventure book. And when I say it, I'm saying it in the font that you choose with your logo, and it's going on the front. Netflix came to you and asked for that. They would have preferred that they had the official, it would have been cute to the hipsters. It would have been, that's probably what Netflix would have wanted for the hipsters that were on Netflix watching it. their audience. That again, it comes down to this thing where I think over the years you've had these focus groups, and in some sort of marketing focus group, this conversation about choose your own adventure books has come up, and the people in the focus group have said, can we get them on the phone? And they've got them on the phone, you know, and from there it's turned into we'll sue Netflix. Not we'll work with Netflix. Absolutely. I don't even want any money. It just lends so much validity to what I'm doing, like that you would Netflix with Charlie Brooker and your, you know, big screen things. Like, I think it's fantastic. If I could be of any help, because I've written all these stories, all these books that you're referring to, maybe, you know, here's my details. The director might want to talk. I wouldn't hide my light under a bushel at this point. I'd treat them like I'm serious, and they're serious. You know, maybe the director would like to talk to me. So I'm very happy to start the conversation rolling about getting our name officially part of this project. Let's have a further conversation. And as an author, as a creative, I'd be looking in some way to get myself involved. I know I'm not going to turn up on set and be telling people what to do. That's not going to happen. But to have some interaction with the creative process, hear their ideas, just even a phone call with people who are making the modern version of the thing that I did all those years ago, that would be great, wouldn't it? And then maybe we'd become friends. Maybe they'd like my demeanor, you know, we'd have a nice conversation, and then they might even call me again for it. Like, you never know, they might have an idea they want to run by me or something like that, and who knows where that could go. Just be nice to them. I wasn't very nice to that Taffy Chuffer because I knew that he'd stolen from me. He didn't they've approached him, they've been nice, and they've said, well, it's going to cost you. And Netflix have said, we don't want to pay for all this. And they said, right, fuck it then, you know, you can't use it. And Netflix have said, all right, then they're only words. We won't go with the official logo. Shame. Let's move on with the project. And later on, they said, right, we'll sue Netflix. What? Just be nice to people. It's the same problem I had. If that chuffer had just been nice to me, we'd have worked together in the future. But instead,
book tarnished the book's reputation. In the episode, the program refers to the fictitious book as a choose-your-own-adventure book, which implies that it was an official part of the actual series of books. ChooseCo had previously defended their copyright against companies like Chrysler and several game...
There you go. I told you. They've been in court already, and they've probably made some money out of it, and it's their now modus operandi. You know, yeah, no, you can't use our name. No, we don't want to let you use it. No, go ahead and see what happens.
Producers, all who thought the phrase was a generic term.
They didn't even ask them. They didn't realise. They went after them in court, and they had to pay out. I can understand that. Like, you know what? If Chrysler want to use Choose Your Own Adventure, didn't think to check whether it was trademarked, used it anyway. Well, obviously with the they must have done an advert, you know, our car is like a Choose Your Own Adventure book. They didn't even check because they just don't care, because the marketing department didn't care. It's my copyright. I've worked really hard on all this stuff all these years, and it's my brand. Yeah, you know, go to Chrysler and say, look, we don't even have a conversation about whether you're going to use it or not. We now have to have a conversation about how much you're going to pay me, because like, you didn't ask me if you could use it. I totally get that. But to take it in and go to Netflix and go in with that attitude, thinking you're just going to win the court case, is ridiculous. And it's a shame, because I even brought up Bandersnatch myself, didn't I? I even brought it up. That was what I first thought. I thought this was where you should be at, and you had the chance to be part of it. And it turned into litigation that you lost, and then they used it anyway.
And that ChooseCo and Bantam before them were using it generically as well. In response to the lawsuit from ChooseCo, Netflix countersued, claiming exactly that.
Oh wait, they didn't win against... Hang on, wait.
Previously defended their copyright against companies like Chrysler.
They defended their copyright against Chrysler, which means they won.
And several game producers, all who thought the phrase was a generic term, and that ChooseCo and Bantam before them were using it generically as well. In response
That's the legal argument.
to the lawsuit from ChooseCo, Netflix countersued, claiming exactly that. Choose Your Own Adventure has become a generic term, and ChooseCo should lose their trademark.
And the issue you've got here in America, that this is why I was laughing so much, and this happens in boxing as well actually, is the Boxing Board of Control, for example, might find a boxer has been taking some steroids or nandrolone or something, in the case of Tyson Fury, and then Tyson Fury might say, right, well, you can ban me and you can do all this stuff, but I'm going to bring a lawyer and we're going to go to court and we're going to fight these legal battles. And Tyson Fury might have a lot more money than the British Boxing Board. I know it sounds silly, than the British Boxing Board of Control. And then it's long and it's protracted and it's drawn out, and the British Boxing Board of Control can't afford to do it. So they come to some sort of agreement, which with Tyson Fury, it was like, we won't officially ban you or anything, but you're not boxing here for a while. And, you know, those sort of agreements go on. And it turns out if you've got a much more powerful an expensive legal team, then you might have a bit more of an advantage when it comes to court. So it's no surprise to me that Netflix, instead of fighting their court case, countersue.
There is plenty of precedent going back to 1921 when Bayer Company lost the trademark for aspirin. Since that case, the standard has been, if a brand name is understood by the public to refer broadly to a category of goods and services rather than a brand's specific good or service, a company may be at risk of losing its trademark.
Which is really funny, because I imagine there could be a future where people have said Netflix and chill so often that Netflix fall into this category, but
Netflix argued that even though they did attempt to acquire the license, they shouldn't have had to. And besides, they didn't use the distinctive design of the books, nor even say it very much in the episode because...
Yeah, there is that. I imagine Netflix wanted to use the distinctive design of the books, but when you decided to not let them, they said, right, fuck it, we won't then. And they decided not to. So I think they're in a strong case there.
Because, quote, in contemporary parlance, any situation that requires making a series of unguided choices or that provides an opportunity to go back and remake a series of choices that turned out badly is referred to as a choose-your-own-adventure. The burden was on Netflix to prove that the term had become generic, however, rather than get bogged down in a years-long battle over an episode that aired
years-long battle
ago, they chose to settle the case with ChooseCo
on
undisclosed terms.
No! Oh my god! How much money did ChooseCo have? Did it turn out I was idly unaware that they've actually generated a great big pile of cash over the years, and it turned out that the Netflix lawyers probably thought just like me then, and then they probably got, you know, word on the grapevine, no, look, it turns out they've got more money than you and it's going to take longer. And Netflix have said, look, I don't want to be there in 3 years' time still fighting this. It was only a one-off Christmas special. Can we move on? Unbelievable. I wonder what the out of court... I mean, we never know how much money Netflix ended up giving to ChooseCo, but it turns out that you don't have to make particularly good modern media anymore. If you're ChooseCo, you just sue people who do. You're part of the cultural melee. So anyone who's doing anything involved, it's one of these, it feels really, I don't know if I'm, you know, reading the room here, because I might be wrong, people might say that I'm wrong here, but it feels like they're being a bit like maliciously litigious. The idea that, you know, in America maybe it's different, because in England and the UK we look at America and we see this suing culture. Oh, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue you. And we think, wow, we don't do that around here. Don't do a lot of suing each other. But in America, Better Call Saul, you know, that sort of thing. A very litigious nation, much more quick to jump to the lawyer than in Europe. And we don't have a culture of that legally, I think, but maybe it's more abundant these days. We certainly have it with like accident and injury and things like that. But in this world, certainly as well, publication, I'm sure we do have a litigious, you know, in specialized places, I'm sure we do, but I don't know. I just think it's incredible, and it would adjust the way you think about your media. Like, you really wouldn't care too much, would you, about whether The Abominable Snowman was going to sell well on paperback or library binding. I imagine you just got it out to maintain your copyright and trademark presence in the market after a number of years, so that, you know, you legally have something there, so that legally you haven't let it slip beyond a number of years. Like, you know, oh, we've got to write another one, have we? We've just been given like 2.6 million. It can't have been in the millions from Netflix. It's got to be in the thousands. Netflix aren't that, but then they are that, aren't they? At the time, I don't know. Imagine the payout from the Netflix case, and then like all you have to do is write another Abominable Snowman every sort of 5 or 6 years. How dedicated to the authorship of the Snowman are you going to be? And how much more concerned with just fucking churning shit out to maintain your presence in the market so that you can be litigious on a whim? Not a whim, you're fighting Chrysler and winning. I suppose these are big numbers. I don't know, I'm out of my depth here.
For over 4 decades, Choose Your Own Adventure has engaged kids who wouldn't necessarily have been excited about reading or had trouble with maintaining interest with the structure of traditional books.
Oh, I'm gonna have
They
to stand up
empowered
'cause my
kids
legs.
through choice, allowing them some control over their own path. They allowed kids to live different lives, go to different places, make decisions, and learn from their mistakes. They helped destigmatize role-playing games at a time when it seemed like the associations with the occult were going to overwhelm them. They predated a video game industry dominated by immersive first-person
Well-
experiences and the emergence of virtual reality technology.
They didn't really predate, like... Excuse me. What am I doing here? Games 1976. Colossal Cave Adventure, Death Race, Breakout, Telstar, Fonz, Tennis, TV Sports, Blockade. So there were a few video games in the 76. I mean, 78. We're talking Space Invaders. So these books didn't predate maybe a specific type of game that he was describing, you know, a sort of sophistication of games, but they didn't predate games. And if we're talking about the 80s, we're talking about the NES. So like we suddenly open up into, as soon as you've got the NES in homes, you know, you're talking about all of these different things. In fact, look, there's a choose your own adventure book that becomes a game. Zork, one of their competitors. Other people actually did it. The thing that I was saying, that's where, and maybe I'm wrong, you know, they'd made fuckloads of money suing people who didn't go anywhere near their trademark and churning out really quite average media every few years on a different platform. But this looks like they probably did a good job of it. I want to play that now, Zork. I bet that's, I'm going to say it's on Steam. Watch this. I'm going to say it's on Steam. Zork on Steam. Told you. This is what they should have been doing with that Choose Your Own Adventure book. Because look, it's just on the computer. They put it on a computer game all the way back then, and now it's on Steam. Look, and how much does that cost? $4.79. More expensive than the fucking books were. It's a 1989 computer game, mate. I mean, $4.79. I'm gonna have to buy this and play it on. It's the anthology though. You know, I'm going to have to buy it and play it on stream now, aren't I? It's just gone that way. I won't do it right now because we are 6 hours and 39 into a big stream, so I'm not going to play Zork now. We will finish this react. I need to go to the toilet. We're going to finish in a minute, so I won't piss my pants, but I'll hold it.
From 1979 to 1998, Choose Your Own Adventure produced nearly 200 books and sold over 250 million copies.
200 books. So they did do fucking loads. I wish you'd told me that earlier because it makes me look a bit silly now. I thought they'd just done sort of 40 or so that you let me on and told me about. I didn't know they kept on banging them out. 200 books.
There's 16 million since it was relaunched in 2005. Choose Your Own Adventure books have been published in more than 40 languages and are the 4th best-selling children's series of all time.
Of course, you've got all the languages as well, haven't you? Oh my god. Oh my god, I bet they banged them out, didn't they?
According to Wikipedia. Creator Edward Packard never could have imagined where his path would take him that night, telling bedtime stories.
So now I kind of agree as well. I mean, he is a lawyer. I forgot that. He is a lawyer. So his angle on this was like, you know, create an IP and defend it. But I do see here as well, if you're selling all those books in all those markets, it becomes less important to you as to whether you can create a computer game or not. Like, let the fucking geeks deal with that. I've made all my fucking book money. I'm going to go to the Bahamas and fucking, you know, drink cocktails and smoke weed. Like, I mean, am I saying this on the internet? What happens if I get really popular on stream and things go really well? Well, join me on my Twitch streams from the fucking Bahamas where I'm drinking cocktails and smoking weed. I won't drink cocktails because I'm never going to drink again, but, you know, you could expect me to live at least a luxurious lifestyle in that context. I'd want to sit on the beach and just chill, wouldn't I? If you'd made the millions, I wouldn't begrudge it of you and just let those books sell themselves. I suppose it turned out that I don't know. See, I don't know the values and I wish they'd told me a bit more of like where the money's and how much money they made and stuff like that, because it seems like an interesting aspect of it. Because maybe the legal costs and the lawsuits and the Chrysler payouts. I mean, I don't know how much that contributed to what aspect of their lifestyle. I don't even know if they live comfortably off it. I assume they do, because they won the lawsuit against Netflix. So
to his kids and how close we were to it never happening at all. In his own words, if I'd been a better storyteller, I'd never have thought this up.
True. And again, going right back to that start point, because I've been a player of these books, they weren't always the best written.
Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you haven't heard, we started streaming on Twitch. Find us at twitch.tv/ToyGalaxy. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon or become a YouTube channel member. And let us know in the comments down below if you were a choose your own adventure reader. I sure was, or rather I would...
This is the thing he wants me to click through. It's like physical toys or something. It's for kids. I'm not a kids. Ages 14 to 100. That's grown-ups as well. So I could get a an engineering project. Fair enough. Actually, I don't find this offensive. You know, I always moan about shit. I don't find this offensive. I think that's quite cool. I don't know about the cost. I'd probably pay, you know, I don't have the disposable income for this, so I don't want it. But if I was to be buying this for a friend at Christmas, I'd probably pay about like £4 a month for that, maybe maximum. I assume it's a, you know, it's called Eureka Crate, so I assume it's a regular monthly subscription thing. So let's say £4 a month, so like 50 quid for a year or something like that. That's not the official multiplication of 412s, is it? 50 quid. Oh God, £48. Seems about right for a year's worth of that shit. I mean, it's just cardboard shit in the mail, isn't it? But you put it together and it makes a thing. And some of it's got a little bit of electronics about it. So, you know, 4 or 5 quid for one of these, postage and packing. I don't want to spend a lot more than that. I don't want to try it for free. I want to know how much it costs. So I don't want to try it for free. Child's name. It's not for me. I want to know how much it costs. Delivered monthly. Why can't I find out how much it costs? Share it, get $10. No, I just want to know how much it costs. Store. In the store. Like, you can buy the individual things that they will send you. Or like actual toys. That's a proper toy because it's £100. So like, I'm not expecting these things. So I just want to know how much the fucking subscription thing costs. The one I was looking at, I just want to, okay, get it. I don't want to tell you how much it's for. It's not, okay, who's it for? It's for Mr. Baby, yeah? My non-existent child, Mr. Baby. When is Mr. Baby's birthday? He hasn't been born yet, so he doesn't have an official birthday. So right now, look, continue. How many do they want? Just one. 20. It's £30 a month. So that's like nearly 10 times more than I felt was acceptable. I might be wrong, but £30 a month, like that means one item is £30. And what we saw there was like some cardboard and if you bought them individually and they weren't being posted to your house. So now we're going to need to just go back. Forget Mr. Baby. Forget Mr. Baby. Just look at what you're getting. Right? You don't see them all, but these are the top 3. So remember, this is like you get that's safe, that's yours, you take that home. That's it, not save the image, cancel, open the image in a new tab. That's yours, that's safe, that's in the bank, you take that home, that's yours, that's safe. Yeah, they're the best 3. One of them's going to be a fucking paper plane. One of them's going to be a fucking scoreboard and it's just a piece of paper with like, you know, numbers on it. Like, they're the best ones. Surely they're not all going to be great. Not like that. You've got an electric pencil sharpener thing. A lamp. I mean, that's impressive, but it is made of pushed out bits of cardboard, so it will bend. And like this thing that I've got for my microphone's made of metal, and it needs to be because like there's forces acting on it. So once you've played with your lamp a bit, that will bend and fold. Your guitar may stand up to a smashing, I don't know, but they look like interesting, nice, cute makes. They're the best ones. But do they? They look like something like a step up, like a really posh cracker, like a step up from a Christmas cracker, really posh cracker. But £30, like I could buy a proper guitar for £30, couldn't I? I mean, I wouldn't have the value of making it myself, but I just want to know how much a guitar is. All departments, child guitar, child guitar, £20. That's £20, and it's made of wood. So why is that other one £30 and made of cardboard? This one's £25, and like, you ain't fucking about. That's a proper guitar, isn't it? It's cheaper, and Amazon Prime free delivery, so it's cheaper. So I'm saying it's nice that you make it yourself. That's cheaper. And just quickly, what was it like? What are they called? Like retractable lamp? I don't know. Retractable lamp. Just, you know, one of those cheap. A cheap lamp is 20 quid. So I know that you're getting the benefit of like, oh, it's like a, you know, you made it yourself project. But it does seem weird that, like, I mean, you probably have to build this fucking thing when it arrives anyway. It does seem weird that the real physical item made of metal is $28.99. If you want, right, I would say to, if my kid comes to me and says, Daddy, will you buy me this? Which I don't, Mr. Baby doesn't exist. Yeah. I could just buy a guitar for that money. Exactly. Like, not, so you said it in chat there, and lessons. Like, you could get a very nice, that's just the 1 month, isn't it? The year's subscription is $400, like you said. So, like, it seems weird that I could, like, Daddy, can I have the, and I'd say, yes, absolutely, you can have a subscription to this. And I'd buy this lamp, and I'd dismantle it, and I'd hand it over, and I'd say, your daddy's done better than this. He's better than this. But your daddy's given you a fucking metal lamp and a screwdriver. Get on with it, you fucker. Daddy, it's electric, so I shouldn't be messing with it. All right, well, Daddy's do the plug with you at the end, but other than that, you have a go. You know, Daddy could buy you a real guitar. Seems like you got duped. I'm not going for it. I'm a bit suspect of these people and their ideas. Oh, these aren't even the people. I got confused in my brain then. I thought these were the people that did the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I thought this was Choose Your Own fucking guitar. Choose Your Own Adventure guitar. No, it's Secret Galaxy. I'm sus of that. It costs loads of money. I get the idea. You get something in the post and you make a science project together. There's the science aspect. But it seems weird that it would be more expensive than just buying the fucking lamp and yours is made of cardboard. Because you could actually, theoretically, right, get this. I mean, this is going to sound like nuts talk, right? But you could send people an actual guitar dismantled. You could buy those guitars off Amazon for like £20 they were, yeah? You could dismantle them and send them out in a flat box to people who are happy to build them themselves at home for it. And you'd make £5 on it. I could do their business, making £5 a sale. They probably make a lot more than £5 a sale, but I could do it with a real guitar. And all I'm doing at home is Amazon send me another big box of guitars. I'm just at home taking them apart, boxing them up, and sending them on to fucking idiots with more money than sense. Take that to the Dragon's Den in the Shark Tank. I'd go into Dragon's Den in the Shark Tank, right, with a guitar, and I'd say, smash like that on the floor with it, and they'd go, what the fuck? Who's this nutter? And I'd take these pieces, and I'd hand them to one of the sharks, one of the dragons, like that, just hand them to them, all broken bits of guitar, and say, that is your engineering project, my lad. Here's a screwdriver. It could be a woman. I would still say my lad. It's nice to be patriarchal in these circles, because we're talking big business here. So I'd probably maintain the patriarchy. I want to be in. I don't want them to push me aside. I want to be in. So I'll maintain that patriarchal edge. Smashed up guitar, hand it over to one of the dragons or the sharks, whatever you call them. Give them the screwdriver. That, my lad, is an engineering project. I bought it off Amazon for 20 quid. You're going to put the fucker together and pay me 30. And they'd say, what? Are you mad? That's not a business. And I'd say, I want £2 million for my end, and I'll sell you 100%. 100%. I'll go and live with Elon Musk on Mars, and you can take that and you can run the business. And they'd say, you are fucking having a laugh. And I'd say, well, open your phones, open it up, check out KiwiCo. So don't talk to me like I'm an idiot. Now look at Amazon and see how much a guitar costs. Right, fuck you. There's the receipts. My business does £300 a month. I want you to take it into the astrosphere. Get me a big website. Get me a load of... I'm not going to be taking them apart. We need to hire people to take guitars apart. We can pay them £2 an hour. The business is starting to fall apart. Look, just... It's... I could hear an IKEA guitar, and IKEA, exactly. I don't even buy. I just buy them from Actually, what I could do is I could go straight to the guitar company, and I could say, "Don't even assemble the guitars. Just send me the parts." That's the way to do it, isn't it? And then I don't have to employ people to disassemble guitars. You're right. I need a spare part for my guitar. Oh, do you? Yes, I'd like a spare, all of it, just disassembled, please. Are you sure you won't want us to assemble that guitar for you? No. Is it cheaper if I just buy the parts? Well, I suppose we could do a discount since we're not having to assemble it. We're on. Can you write that down? I need to show the dragons in Dragon's Den. I want £2 million for 100% of the business, and I'm walking away. And that is a Choose Your Own Adventure book reaction video. Probably if I cut it into a video. And with that, I think, being as it's now 1:30 in the morning, it's late o'clock at night here, you know, naughty Scotty, going on too late tonight. But I'm having fun, you're having fun, it's good, you're good. Nearly 7 hours, big long stream. That's what happens when you just don't watch the clock and just enjoy yourself. So I'll be back tomorrow to play Genshin Impact and try and get through that damn Archon quest, which does my head in. I assume there's going to be some combat involved at some point. And Omar's already asleep. Yeah, he's been asleep the whole time, hasn't he, the little chuffer? So it's a step forward, though, isn't it, Cat Cam? I'm sorry that he chased the dog off his bed. Yeah. But yeah, we're all good. He's good. He did a little sneeze, didn't you, little Omar? Then you woke up. You know we're talking about you, don't you? You're being good. You're a good catty. He's worried. Anxious. They're talking about me. So he's going on about Choose Your Own Adventure books. I might have to go and find a Choose Your Own Adventure books. And tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll play Genshin Impact, and then we'll play Zork as well. Because I can't imagine this is going to take a long time. Maybe I'll do that as its own stream, part of the Christmas special content. I can't imagine that will take a long time. You know, he says, having to read through every page of Zork. We woke up and looked at us a few times when Daddy was getting animated. Oh, bless him. Fair enough. Sometimes when the dog moves, he assesses the dog's position. And you're right, Marlo. Oh, you're being a good boy. We've all been good. You've been good. You've been good. And remember, if you can't be good, you're naughty.